and welcome to the Computer Game Show. My name is Sean Bell. I'm joined by Matthew Murray.
Hello.
And James Farley.
Hi.
That is a hilarious joke that you will get if you go and listen to the most recent episode of Star Calls, which we were all on with Dave. That was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun doing that. I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. It was fun. I'm getting abuse already.
Are you?
So probably not going to bother going on the next one.
No. Farley, you all right?
Yeah, sorry, my son just came in and said he had to get his Donkey Kong.
This is great.
Fair enough.
It's a reasonable BBC moment.
It's a reasonable request.
I hope that's captured. I'm not going to edit that out. Yeah, that's like one that goes on BBC News and his two kids came in the background.
Yeah, that was classic.
Yeah, he's got his Donkey Kong now, so it's fine.
Good.
All right, nice one.
Phew.
Okay, I guess we'll just crack on.
Yeah,
back to normal, fully back to normal. What's E3? Never heard of it. Don't care.
Yeah, this is our first normal show in a month, isn't it? Or something crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, let's get cracking. Yeah,
mate.
We've got Patreon, and we've got some Patreon producers who support us on Patreon. Those are Alan M. Nash, Barney Sparkles, and Steve Garrett. Thank you ever so much, you lot, for supporting us. If you want to support us, you can go to patreon.com/TCGS. Let's get into the feedback. Last week, of course, was the E3 results show where we went over points some of us won.
I love how we're doing the results of the E3 results of the E3 show.
This will be the last time we mention E3 probably for a good 9 months. Let's get straight into it. Athena Allen, Splinter Cell is dead and Matt's constant moaning about it not being E3 killed it.
Nice.
It's not dead. It's definitely not dead. How can that franchise possibly be dead with the constants of references in other games?
Well, this is it. Like, I get it. I understand why you keep bringing it up because it just I don't understand what it is about modern day that Ubisoft presumably think that a Splinter Cell game wouldn't fly anymore.
Well, they're trying to figure out how to monetize it, aren't they? And it's like they can't. Like they probably can't do games
you can't
as
just
a
sell a
service.
game that ends and then that's
they can't do that anymore. So
it doesn't work.
Well, I don't know. I mean, they can do what they did with Assassin's Creed, probably. I'm sure there's ways to,
Well, I don't know if they can, though, because the Assassin's Creed multiplayer was basically nicked from that Splinter Cell game that we never actually got, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's a single player in the most recent Assassin's Creed Odyssey where you can buy things to speed up progress and unlock parts of the map. Stuff. But yeah, I mean, like they've been teasing Splinter Cell they've had references in old Wildlands games. I'm sure there's been other things in maybe like Siege as well. But they're teasing this to a lot of players who maybe didn't even play it originally when it last came out on Xbox 360. That was the last one, wasn't it?
Yeah. God, was it? God, yeah. Was it Conviction?
Yeah, it was, Like lots of people heard about Splinter Cell, not actually having played the original or sorry, not the original, but even the more recent or most, the last game in the series. And they're teasing it. It's going to happen. They're just slowly building it up. 2020.
Okay, fine.
Again.
Sean, you just sound like you got bored of the conversation.
Sorry, it was just the last 3 weeks all just piled up into one. Then I was just like, yeah, all right.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. But Thomas Lockmuffler 42, read the perennial Splinter Cell predictions. I think that's allowed. After all, lest we forget, JCA Farley predicted the death of Kinect for about 5 years.
Yeah, but that was fine because, first of all, I was right. That did happen.
Yeah, after 5 years.
It wasn't after 5 years. It was dead after a year. They were already
It did sort of thrash around for a while, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
It did. They tried.
It tried, yeah.
But
Is that it?
That's
all
your
I'm going to argue the case.
Okay, right. Well, let's crack on.
I was right, wasn't I? It's fine.
Yeah, you were right after not making multiple predictions over many years, and that's what I'm going to keep doing with my boy Splinter Cell. We're carrying on with the E3 stuff. I also, James got a point because he predicted Doug Bowser would have a cringeworthy E3 performance.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was, and neither the listeners either. Alex79 UK, I have to agree with Matt. Doug Bowser's E3 performance was more cheesily charming than cringeworthy. Thomas Alarmfly 42 again agreed it was just on the right side of charming. Darren Gargett, Doug was fine, so on and so forth. I mean, I think I want to take the point back. That still makes it 3-2.
I think we should respect the result. You know, you have to respect the result. It's happened now. We just need to move forward.
As I said on Twitter, like people are informed now, and I don't think that really affects democracy.
No, I think a decision was made based on the information we had at the time.
Even if it was wrong, we're going to blindly carry on. Is that what you're saying, Sean?
We need to just blindly carry on with the most destructive possible.
Absolutely.
Interpretation.
But people know what it's all about now, and I think people would think differently, given that they know the full extent of what can happen.
It doesn't matter.
You're anti-democracy, Matt. This is appalling.
It doesn't matter. Like doing it again doesn't affect democracy. That's just
It makes a mockery of the whole system, Matt. If we do it again, you can't do that.
I really think we should vote again. We know more now. Why? What? How?
What are we going to do? Okay, are we going to just keep rewinding it until we get the right result? Is that what's going to happen?
I'm just saying, like, there's like one more go. You know, now everyone knows what they're doing, and then we'll see what happens after that. You know, but there's nothing wrong with fighting for the right decision if you think the first one was a joke and someone wrote on the bus that Doug Browser's performance was cringeworthy. You know?
It did.
Ridiculous. Thomas is back saying, I've noticed Matt still mainly quote tweets messages that agree with him, still filtering out content. There was no tweet that disagreed about the cringeworthiness.
That's true. There wasn't for that one, but for other ones,
we've all got access to the Twitter account, so we could all have a go if we wanted.
Yeah, we could, yeah.
There's nothing to stop us.
Yeah. Please do. Please find the many tweets that disagreed with me. There weren't any. There was none, which makes a change. Rich Byrne, long time, first time, etc. Love the show and love the new Patreon-enabled stuff. Star calls it's absolute genius. Thank you. It's my idea.
What about Bell's Kitchen?
Yeah, and that. What about Bell's Kitchen? There's a new one coming up.
Yeah, mate.
In fact, that was a proper announcement we should have done at the start of the show. Let's do it now. Go on, Sean.
Okay. This Friday, 8 p.m, I'm going to be making a Swedish apple cake with vanilla sauce, which is basically just custard. That's going to happen at 8 p.m, and it will be fun, or it should be anyway.
Sean, feel free to go on for as long as you need. I'm quite happy to postpone my Quantum Break stream.
Okay. Are you not raring to go play more Quantum Break, James?
I'm not raring to go to sit there and watch more TV episodes of an incredibly mediocre TV show.
So save that for what you've been watching later on. Anyway, Rich Byrne. Anyway, following on from James being bummed about not getting anything for winning the E3 predictions game, why not make it so instead of taking turns to miss E3, whoever comes last in the predictions has to miss the next year? It would be worth it to hear Matt's desperation to grab any point, no matter how tenuous, so he doesn't have to miss his favourite week again. I mean, I'll do that anyway, Rich. I definitely do it anyway.
That's not a bad idea, you know. That could kind of work.
No, because it is.
Because I'll just be panicked. It'll just turn something fun into like an actual tense experience.
That's true. And then also, like, everyone will be like really, really like careful with their predictions as well.
Yeah, everyone will just be, there will be a new Mario. Yeah. And it'll just be, no one will go wild with it.
Or a new Splinter Cell.
Or a new Splinter Cell.
Well, no, I would still focus on that because I think next year it's going to turn out.
This is the thing. Matt does sincerely believe it's going to happen.
Well, he can believe all he wants, but we're not allowing it next year because
there's too early to say. It's too early to say, James. I think it might happen next year. Again, like carrying on from the prediction show, I said I think Microsoft want to like get the feeling of what it's like when the first Xbox came out on the 360. Again, Splinter Cell launch title, that would also be pretty banging, wouldn't it? Even if it is multi-platform. Imagine.
Yeah. I guess so.
Read the Flight Sim stream. You must do it. I'm imagining virtual passengers all dying from DVT as James completes 15 hours of pre-flight checks. Come Fly with Farley has a nice ring to it. That was from Thomas. I think you should absolutely do that.
Do you know, actually, that's not a bad idea because I've never flown a plane in a flight sim before. So it probably would go. It'd probably go horrendously wrong. So
to see you panicking, you know, I mean, you struggle with doors, let alone flying a commercial aircraft.
You're not allowed any instructions or tutorials. Yeah. It's just you and all the really helpful people in the chat.
That is a very good idea. When's it out? Is it out soon? It's not, is it? I bet it's going to be like a year away or something.
I think it's a while off, but it's a Game Pass, so it's fine.
Yeah. I mean, either way, just start looking for the pilot's outfit now, and then when it comes out, it'd be absolutely banging. That's definitely happening. I'm quite excited for that.
Mm-hmm. Ditto.
Steve Garrett emails in, driving along, listening to the show, I had to shout, what the fuck, when Mr. Farley went on his weekend-related mini-rant. Since Dave's absence, I had thought of James as the main one, with a subtle, dry, grumpy old man delivery. But you're way off base with this one, James. I obviously have to go to a little kid's birthday party, boo-hoo, hold my beer. Just wait until you're answering the phone at 3 a.m. because your 19-year-old daughter is drunk off her head and needs picking up from the local club. Then enjoy the 1 hour you spend with your daughter in the bathroom making sure she doesn't drown herself in the toilet. This is standard weekend fare for me. I'm older and grumpier than you, and it's still the best time of the week. Sort yourself out, lad. I am dreading those days, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah. I've honestly no idea how Isaac's going to because obviously because I don't drink and stuff, part of me's like, he'll just be like me, it'll be fine. But it's not going to happen, is it? He's definitely going to call me a cunt when I tell him he can't go to a nightclub or whatever, isn't he? He's just going to
possibly.
I'm hoping he's going to be really into football and just like drag you to games all the time.
Can't wait. That's all right. You can go with his granddad, not my granddad, not my dad, obviously. News. But yeah.
Well, no, you'll say to him like, on the podcast I do, like the people joke, there's the other guys who are joking about being Tranmere, and then he'll be hardcore Tranmere, and he'll be part of like the elite fans, just go at the front and start fights with other, whoever their like rivals are, have a Tranmere tattoo on his chest.
Who knows?
Who are Sean? Who are Tranmere's rivals?
I have no idea.
You don't know who the Super White Army's rivals are?
Why would I know?
Because I'm a fan.
It's like this, it'd be dead funny if we get Sean to go to a game. I won't have any idea what's happening.
I still think we should absolutely do that. We can have like a little meet there, 100%
which team they are.
It's the white ones, Sean. Super. Okay.
Yeah. It's the Super unless they're playing away. Unless they're playing away, that might be a thing.
Yes, he knows his stuff, doesn't he? He knows his stuff,
doesn't he,
James?
Yeah.
You're doing his own work.
Caught me off guard there, didn't I?
Oh, you bloody did. Steve continues, you're still the main one though, James. Can I please request more news about why Anthem is a stealing pile of crap? I love how they wind up Matt. And then carrying on from that, Athene Allen, why does Matt love Anthem so much? I get this whole thing as adoring shit games, but come on. It's not about Steve and Athene, it's not about the game, it's about fair and balanced press. That's what I want.
Mm-hmm.
It's James got this narrative about let's dunk on Anthem. I don't care about the game. I played the alpha and couldn't care less about it. I'd never. I have no time for that. I couldn't be less uninspired when I look at it. But it's not about that. It's about giving little games from this little plucky upstart studio called EA, a chance. And James dunking on them every week isn't helping. We want to be bigging these games up, trying to do as much as we can.
The fact that we don't get any criticism for repeatedly dunking on Anthem every week, I don't know, maybe we've just completely put off all the Anthem fans. But there are other games and other series that
fans, Sean. That's the problem.
Well, yeah, probably right. But there's other games and other series that we get told off for ignoring or giving a short shrift or whatever. But I mean, Anthem, even though we slag it off pretty much on a weekly. We don't slag it off. We just read out the things that have happened.
Yeah,
we just report the news.
You ain't for the bad news.
No, it's just I just have to report what there is, Matt. Is the thing.
Yeah.
Apart from that week, whatever.
And at no point has anyone been like, "Come on, guys, have you actually played it? It's pretty." Not even a sniff of that. So
yeah, I'm the lone voice. But again, it's not about the game. I'm just trying to give.
We don't hear anything.
Press.
But I'm looking forward to EGX and getting assassinated or something
by someone from
by a freelancer.
Yeah.
Oh God, sorry.
That's it. That's very much it for feedback. If you want to leave us feedback, it's podcast@thecomputergameshow.com, or you can tweet us at ComputerGamePod on Twitter.
I did actually get some additional feedback from friend of the show, Chris Spann. He texted me.
God. No. Private feedback is the scariest feedback.
So, I mean, this is a Star Calls thing, and it's about the toys argument about what came out when. And if you haven't listened to Star Calls, basically there was a disagreement between Matt and James about when Star Wars toys were available. Matt swore blind he could remember Star Wars toys being available when he was 10.
I said,
I've already made a statement.
I seem to remember.
I know you've made a statement. It's fine.
I seem to remember when I was like 10 or so that being Toys R Us, loads of Star Wars games as toys. At that point, James said, "Oh, well, you say when you were 5 or 6," so it already misheard. Matt.
Today I was going through that, and I was editing all this together. Actually, I was going to use it, but then I thought I'm not going to do that because that would be too petty.
Because it'd be actual work.
It meant work, but then also it would have been too petty to do. But the first thing you said was 10 or so.
Yeah, 10 or so. 10 or so to me is could be 8, could be 12. 10 or so. And it's, who remembers back that's like 20 odd years ago.
Exactly. Well, you didn't remember clearly.
Glad Glad you asked that.
I did. I'm just telling you my memory of when I was a child.
So Chris says, "Hi James. On the most recent episode of Star Calls, you seemed apoplectic that Matt couldn't remember exactly what age he was when Kenner re-released their range of Star Wars toys. As such, I'm sure you'll be happy to tell us exactly what age you were when."
Go on.
A, the SNES was first released in the UK.
Right.
B, the He-Man and the Masters of the Universe cartoon was released.
Okay, go on, James. No time for Googling.
I don't remember. Okay.
C, go on.
Right, well, the SNES was 1991.
Well, yeah, he's just had time to Google that, hasn't he?
92.
Was it?
Go on here. When was He-Man?
Yeah, sorry, I googled the wrong one.
Okay. Oh, fucking hell. Go on, He-Man, Master of the Universe.
I wasn't a fan of the series, so I don't know.
Okay.
Okay. All right, fine. It's convenient. 1987. And the last one is, when did Ed the Duck first appear on CBBC?
That's got to be late 80s, definitely.
I'll give it 88.
Yeah, there you go.
It was.
Yeah.
Still, James. 10 or so, and they came up when I was 12. I mean, what's wrong with you? Matt, what is wrong with you?
Right.
Do you really want to do this?
No, yes, let's not. Listen to Star Calls, it's good.
I don't want to give you feedback on Star Calls, and that'd be mental. We're like, and here's feedback for the last one. And we're like, fucking hell, James.
Well, I figured, really it's a Star Calls thing, but then it'll be like another month before we do another roundtable one. So,
I'd be livid all day seeing the people tweeting saying, "Oh, Leo, James is right on that one." It's like, I said 10 or so, and they came up when I was 12. Fuck the lot of you. 10 or so.
Right, anyway.
10 or so.
James, have you seen Evangelion?
I have, yeah.
Sorry, Neon Genesis Evangelion. Everyone's making a lot of noise about it because it's on Netflix now and they've changed the ending music and everyone's furious.
Have they? That's ridiculous. It was Fly Me to the Moon before, yeah?
Yeah, it doesn't have that anymore.
Why?
They couldn't get the rights. I don't know. It would be a licensing thing, won't it? And I think like voice actors have changed. I don't know. I don't really care.
It's a good
but
series.
You know the thing with, when they get in the cockpit, like when Shinji first gets in the cockpit and it turns out, they like flood it with that sort of oxygenated stuff, which I guess is it's like an allusion to like being in the womb, isn't it? And it's a whole weird thing. But yeah, so like initially he thinks he's like fucking drowning and it turns out he's just supposed to like go with it and be immersed in it and his lungs can sort of process the oxygen. Yeah, basically, I want you to do that to me, but with the news being the weird oxygenated water stuff.
Okay, so you want me to spray you with news today?
Basically,
why is everything a sex thing now?
It's not a sex thing.
It was last week.
Just, he gets drowned in it, and then it's like there's a bit of tension because he thinks he's going to drown. Then it turns out he's supposed to just go with it and let it enter him, and then it's actually a much better way to it's a much more efficient way of breathing. And
I'm going to swamp your lungs with news.
Oh God, come on! This is disgusting. People might be eating listening to this. Last week he said, "I'm going to spray you," or here come the eggs. Now it's this.
Yeah. Well, I'm running out of ideas, so deal with it.
Okay. First news story. EA CEO admits Anthem currently not working very well.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, that not working very well, that is a quote, isn't
this
it?
Is news. This is news to me.
Yeah, well, no, sure it is, because this is... Okay, so this is EA CEO Andrew Wilson spoke to GamesIndustry.biz, and he said that Anthem is not working very well. And he reckons that the reason for this is that the game suffered because it was aimed at two different types of people that play games. There's one group that wanted like traditional BioWare story, and there's the other group who wanted action-adventure content. And the two didn't really get either of those things. So, do you want me to read the quote? Because there's a...
Please do.
Yeah, so it says...
Yeah, go on.
At that point, everyone kind of went, oh, hang on a minute. Now the calculation is off. It's off because I've got a friend who sits in this other category of player. They want to play the game a certain way. I want to play the game a certain way. The promise was we could all play together, and that's not working very well. Oh, by the way, I'm used to 100 hours of BioWare story, and that's not what I got. Or, I expected this game would have a meaningful advance the action component that we'd seen in games like Destiny before, and I don't feel like it has. So, yeah, it's... Yeah.
I mean...
What do you think? I mean,
you can have both, we could have told them that.
Yeah, you can do both, though. Destiny manages it. If you do... Every time there's a new expansion or whatever, you do the story, and that doesn't take too long. Granted, it wouldn't, it's not like a BioWare-esque thing. But
it wouldn't be a 100-hour story, but...
Yeah, but you can have your good story component, and then the end game stuff is your slightly grindy, play it forever, repeated stuff.
But also, I mean, with Destiny, I mean, I don't know hugely because I've not really investigated it, but isn't like the story? It does actually have a lot of depth, doesn't it? If you want to go into it, like there's a lot there's a lot there that you can sort of play with if you want to.
Yeah, sort of lore from items and stuff, and and like all these lore cards that you pick up, all extra bits of dialogue. I mean, if you ask me, you're better off just like finding people on YouTube or whatever who's kind of stitched everything together for you. And it's not, it's not like Dark Souls where it's like the whole point is that you just pick up bits and try and figure it out yourself. This, I feel better off just letting other people tell me. But yeah, the stuff there. So yeah, there are ways of doing it, and I think. Like, you're saying, oh, yeah, it's split between these two types of players. But, as he says, that you didn't please either one.
Yeah, I was going to say, it feels like...
no one got what they wanted.
Not a great BioWare game, and certainly not a very good games as a service style game. So it's failed on both accounts, and you tried to smash them together, that hasn't worked either. If one of those sides was good, maybe like, well, as a games as a service or shooter, it's not great, but it's got a great story, or, well, story is pretty wank, but it doesn't matter because like, the minute-to-minute combat is great. Apparently, it does have like nice ideas, but it's just there's so few and far between, and sandwiched in between all the other crap. It's just a no-go.
And that's the thing that they nailed with Destiny, like right from the beginning, is whatever you say about all the other stuff, the shooting was still brilliant from the off.
Yeah,
and it's that made it worth playing. Whereas this is maybe hasn't got that. Although Wilson has said that EA are still committed to the game. And they see it as a game that would have like a 7 to 10 year life cycle.
Oh god, I laughed out loud when I saw that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I suppose it's easy to say that when you're basically writing off the first year, right?
Yeah. So maybe it is going to come back, and I'm going to be eating my words like later on, and it's going to be a massive hit. But
and in case it needs saying again, that's what we want.
Yeah, sure.
We would rather the game turned out to be good.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's what we all want, apart from James, who will. Imagine if Anthem got good. What the hell would this news section be about then?
I'd have really nice stories to tell, Matt. Is what it would be. I'd love to have some good news stories in the news. I mean. Nice.
Can you imagine just that episode of the show where we all have to be like, oh, fuck, we've all played Anthem this week, and it's amazing.
Yeah, I can't stop playing Anthem. James is higher level than I am. Yeah. He's booked time off work, and he's such a great freelancer.
So actually, I'm playing it right now, like while we're podcast.
He loves being a freelancer, guys. 7 to 10. Andrew, has the 7 to 10 year cycle started now, or is this a freebie before it starts next year?
Sorry.
Andrew, okay, he's gone.
It's technically early access.
Yeah. Sorry. Once I 7 to 10 year, that starts in 2022. This is just like early access. Like this is testing in a way.
Yeah.
Shame.
It's fine.
Okay, next story. Epic denies that Fortnite makes money, and EA rebrands loot boxes as surprise mechanics.
Oh, this was bad, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was. When this was happening, I didn't know this is like a live comments department for digital culture and media, and there's like a live sort of inquiry online. And you sent us the link, didn't you, Sean?
Yeah.
It was been a day, and then I tuned in, but it was fantastic to watch.
Yeah. So I'd seen people tweeting about it. Basically being like, "Oh my god, if the way this is going, they're going to ban Fortnite." Like because it was. So this is the representatives from EA and from Epic, basically just getting quizzed about sort of potentially addictive or harmful elements of their games. And holy shit, I don't think anyone had prepared Epic or given them any clue as to how the game was being discussed over here. Obviously it led with, was it Prince Harry who said, Fortnite's addictive and
shows you banned.
Yeah, so Prince Harry talks about that. I mean, because the whole focus of the committee was about immersive and addictive technologies and where there's a problem. And it didn't start well because both companies flatly denied that there were any problems with video games at all. There was, which they're going to do that, but and it just seems like Epic's council. This is the weird thing. It says, Epic's counsel said that the idea of addiction was, and this is the quote, couldn't be further from the truth about our ethics and design philosophy. So he's basically saying that Epic don't make games that are designed to make you want to keep playing them. It's, that's bizarre.
Well, and then, I'm not one to defend this, but do you think there's a difference between getting people addicted and wanting people to play them a lot? I think there is a difference.
This is it, isn't it? The overall feeling I got. and maybe I probably am being naive, I do think the vast majority of people working in game development do just want to make good stuff that people want to keep playing because it's good, right?
Yeah.
I absolutely agree with that. I just don't believe that Epic are doing that.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I know what you mean.
I don't know.
Come on, any game.
Why do you think Epic are different?
Any game that is designed around free to play, the design is going to be designed to be addictive, isn't it? To try and get people to spend money. That's the purpose. That's where it comes.
Because if it's easy to get away from, then they won't
make any money. It's
money. Yeah,
that's how. I mean, that's always been the reason that I don't like free to play very much. Is that it feels like that then the games are being designed in this way to try and extract money from you in a different way, and I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah. And I think you're fully right. But I don't think everyone at Epic is like, oh, how can we get everyone addicted to our game? They obviously want people to to be compelling, for people to come back, to enjoy it, and ultimately to...
I don't think they have meetings where they're like sitting around going, how can we be evil and make people addicted to this? But they are constantly trying to work out ways to keep people engaged. I mean,
of course, every game developer is.
Yeah.
I think there was certainly from this inquiry, there was like a real sense that they were maybe just like not even aware of the responsibility of that. Like, at least with EA, they talked about, bad things happen as a result of this, and we have teams that are on it, and we work to expose people who are, selling. Is it foot coins?
Yeah,
whatever they are. Like people selling stuff on the black market, people gambling, etc., etc. We work to stop that stuff. Whereas Epic were just like, it's fine. It's fine. Stop having a go at us.
Yeah. I don't think that's good at all. You need to acknowledge it is what it is, not just say, well, no, it's totally fine, and what's the problem?
Yeah. But you see, the reason I feel that also Epic are doing this on purpose is because when they were asked direct questions, like about how many people were playing their games and what their habits were, Epic said that they couldn't answer those questions because they said, we think it's difficult to have a categorical understanding of what that is given. It varies from time to time and person to person, how long people play for. But then he contradicted himself by stating that he believed that a frequent player was someone who had played within the last 2 weeks or 30 days. And so, right. I mean... Of course they know all of this stuff. It's definitely they know all of this stuff, like how long people are playing for, what maps they're playing all the time, what weapons and that, because that's how they balance everything, isn't it? And how they work out, what to focus on. I mean, why lie about that? It makes no sense.
Did you hear the whole bit about Facebook as well? So Epic were doing a whole thing of like, we don't collect any information on our players, which was
don't believe that.
Mad. And they were saying, oh well, they all go through Nintendo or Sony or Microsoft or whoever, and we don't collect that data. I mean, completely ignoring the fact that you do need an Epic account to to play properly. Yeah. So they're definitely getting something from that. And then they also talk about the fact that like Facebook, talking about Facebook advertising and stuff, and they're like, oh well, Facebook collects the information, not us, doesn't count. And they're like, yeah, but you may not be collecting the information, but you can still go to Facebook and say, we want to advertise to people who haven't logged into this service in an amount of time. And it was just mad the way Epic were just sort of like, oh, I don't know, I don't really have that information. Oh, I think you're being unfair. It was childish at times.
But then the funniest quote, though, was when he said, the Epic Council said, I don't think it's accurate to define Epic as making money from people playing the game. And the MP responded saying, well, you're clearly not a charity. It's just bizarre. Like you said, I mean, they can't have been briefed. Like, they can't have realised what this was going to be or what kind of questions they were going to get asked, because why would you say that?
Yeah, they seem so underprepared. These guys just sent to, fend for themselves.
Yeah, and the bit where they were asked if do they really not think it was important to establish the age of people who play the game, and they said nope. They don't think that's important.
See, I mean, like you said, EA definitely fared better. I mean, I said in our group, I think this is because they're used to defending the indefensible, and so it's like it's not too bad for them. But they did do this loot crates thing. We're calling them surprise mechanics, which is
God,
really funny.
Yeah. It's like you don't remove the stink on something like that by just renaming it. Like, I know you can't just rebrand loot boxes at this point.
Surprise mechanics, love that.
And she did explain, like, because obviously, they're having the whole conversation like, yeah, but it's gambling though, isn't it? And they were like, yeah, but people do enjoy not knowing what they're going to get to an extent. I don't know if that's entirely true or not. Like, certainly, she's right in that, you see in free-to-play games, like, there's always, whenever you buy, like, a loot crate or whatever, there's always a bit of a ceremony to it.
Which is designed to appeal to your...
Exactly.
Yeah.
And isn't the FIFA thing is you want a walkout, right? You want to get a player who's good enough that they get a little walkout animation. Is that's
no idea, I've never done it, but yeah, I'll take you over it.
But basically, if you get a player of a certain caliber, there's like a whole animation where they like run out onto the pitch, and that means you got someone good, and that's like a thing that you want. And again, it's so apparently, there's like YouTube videos of people just opening packs of FIFA players, and it's like, right, let's get a fucking walkout. And as you say, it's all designed because they know people are sort of hooked on the idea of maybe getting a good character or item or whatever. So, like Overwatch, the way when you unlock you open a loot box in Overwatch, it like throws these little tokens up into the air, and you can see from the trail of like the color trail that it leaves, like the rarity of it. So you might like before you actually see what the items are, they all get thrown into the air and then they land on the ground. So obviously, as it gets thrown up, you're like, oh my god, there's like 2 yellow ones, holy fuck, and then you see what they are, and it's this managed.
It's totally like,
presentation, So it is manipulative. There's no other way to put it. And maybe the devs are sort of completely naive, and they are just like, how can we make this really exciting? But you've still got to acknowledge the effect that is going to have on some people, even if it's only a relatively small percentage of your players, which Epic really didn't seem willing to do at all.
Yeah.
So that was the thing, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
Okay. Should we move on?
Yeah,
let's.
Okay, so Microsoft is cutting back on internal content. So it seems that Microsoft has let people go who were involved in their like internal editorial content. So these were people across Mixer and inside Xbox. Is Mixer popular? Just out of curiosity, do people actually use it?
I mean, as far as I can tell, it's basically the Bing of streaming services, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got an audience, and like it feels like they're constantly tapping people up to be like partners, I guess. Mm-hmm. And I've seen a few people go over to Mixer, and I'm like, why? Like,
is it better than Twitch though? Is it like functionally better than Twitch?
I think it has some features which are impressive, but like it did like co-streaming before.
I was going to say
it's
that before.
Twitch still isn't live properly. I think it's in beta now, but it's had that for a while. It's got you can basically like interact with like the streams in much more complex ways and give people what is the equivalent of like bits. So I think it does have some good features, but I mean, obviously in percentage it pales to Twitch, but it has an audience, I imagine. I mean, I think Sean's idea of it being like the Bing of streaming, so that app, I'm sure it has an audience. It's probably a really good sized audience, but it's obviously nothing compared to Twitch and stuff. But
sorry, I know it probably sounded like I was being a dick. I just meant it's like you see it whenever you use a Microsoft product, and it's like, hey, what about Mixer? And you're like, I'm all right, honestly. I think. So I mean, inside Xbox, because obviously my experience of that was just in the 360 days when it was Andy Farrington, Dan Marr, and Jane Douglas, etc. I have no idea what inside Xbox is now or was.
It was brought back like recently,
right?
And so the people that were let go from this, they were let go just before E3, and it says because from the Games Industry.biz article, I mean, it says that the people that were mostly affected were employees of this thing called Mighty Media Studios. And this was the company that Microsoft had contracted to help produce the content.
Okay.
So it's weird because like Inside Xbox has apparently gone quiet now. There hasn't been anything for like a couple of months really that have like come from it. And I mean, although the article really talks about this idea that, I mean, this may not, I mean, why at this stage? Like, why do this now? And they reckon it's because Microsoft's financial year is like ending. And so they're like restructuring now. But it doesn't mean that they're like completely just getting rid of all the internal content. It's just they're just doing a restructure or whatever before the end of the financial year. Yeah. So exciting.
Okay.
And the weird thing is, like Inside Xbox, when I first saw these headlines, I was like, oh wow. So like Inside Xbox, when I hear that, I think about the 2-hour show, which is their equivalent of State of Play Nintendo Direct. So I was like, oh my god, I wonder who like, is it like some of the hosts or what are they doing to that show? Are they changing? But actually, it's this. editorial team who were creating other stuff like Xbox Wire, which is their like internal blog, and their Xbox blog and some other stuff. Stuff I don't really engage with in all honesty, but it's not just the 2-hour show which we see fronted by people like Julia Hardy and Major Nelson and Rubenstein and stuff. No,
you see, they've done this before though, because I remember do you remember before the 360 came out? And obviously, like Major Nelson, like had a lot of stuff like going on then, that he was doing his podcast and stuff. But they also had like a bunch of blogs as well that they were working with. And I remember like a couple of years after the 360 came out, they kind of got rid of all of those as well and just left it with Major Nelson. I mean, I don't think that was a great decision, but that's what they did. And so they do seem to periodically have these sorts of like cutbacks where they just suddenly decide, we don't need this now, and which is a shame.
Weird. Yeah, but I've read other reports saying like, okay, they're doing this, but actually I think that they've been engaging with other sort of influencers to create their sort of content for them, particularly on places like Mixer. So maybe rather than having like the actual paid full-time editorial team to produce original content, they're going to engage with the people that are actually active on Mixer and no other channels to create the content, which makes sense, admittedly. But
I'd just love to know how popular Mixer is, like how many people are actually watching that. That'll be interesting.
I think it's probably popular enough to make it worth their while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Didn't sound convinced. All right.
Okay. Next story. Game has been taken over by Sports Direct. So
fucking hell.
This is high street retailer Game. I mean, Sports Direct already had like a stake in them, didn't they, for quite a long time?
I was going to say, yeah.
They've now agreed to take over Game for £51.9 million. And this worked out apparently at about 30 pence per share. But it seems that Game didn't have much choice because their whole future strategy relied on Sports Direct anyway, because they were going to roll out kiosks in all their shops, and also they were supporting those Belong venues, the places where you do the game or whatever. Yeah. So that's it. I mean, they're kind of done now, I guess. I mean,
and now Game's future strategy is massive pint mugs and big bags for life. and Lonsdale goods.
Lonsdale, if it was Lonsdale,
expect to see that.
I mean, I'm wondering whether they might, because those stores that they've got, I mean, quite a lot of game stores have closed, haven't they, around the UK, like over the last year or so.
Yeah,
as I understand it, and because David was saying the one that he had, like where he lived, that got shut down like quite recently. Maybe they're gonna do that and just keep a couple of them, and then just move all of them as like kiosks inside Sports Direct and stuff. What do you think?
That'd be weird.
Or House of Fraser, which they now own as well.
House of Fraser, yeah.
Go there for your games.
Yeah, because I remember there used to be game concessions in places like Debenhams and stuff, and obviously
that was a thing.
They went and then had their own stores, and then I mean I don't think it'd be the end of the world if Game was a concession in another store, but places like House of Fraser aren't exactly doing great. Debenhams always feels like it's on the edge of falling off a cliff. Like where do you go? I mean, there are lots of Sports Directs, and they're all massive with like really high ceilings, just full of not a lot of great stuff, so maybe there is a space for that, but like you'd have to rename them. It'll be awfully weird to have Game and Sports Direct. I mean, I know they did shut down some Game like locations, but I don't know. I mean, they need to do something. I don't know how Mike Ashley is going to turn the company's fortunes around, but
well, he's just playing Monopoly at the moment, isn't he? He's just trying to buy as many like shops as he can, like around the high street.
But, he should be focusing on keeping like Rafa Benitez at Newcastle, not this shit. That's what he should have been doing. Again, ultimately we want a big, successful, good games retail on the high street. If Game goes, what we're left with is CX and basically place and supermarkets, I guess, and online. To not have a games retailer will be shocking. The sad thing is the only games retailer we've currently got is Game, and it's shit. So we're sort of
it's easy to
hot place.
It's easy to make fun, but also we do deserve a good games shop and in the high street. But then when was the last time you went in HMV or?
I'm still shocked. Whenever I go to the city, I'm still shocked that there's that still there. To be honest, it's just how is that still running, that shop?
Yeah, but I used to go in, loads of shops to look at all the gaming stuff, and now, like, I just know there's nowhere to go because,
well, it's also because
HMV doesn't really it has a gaming section. One of Leeds actually is really big, the HMV, and there is like gaming section, but it's also just loads of other stuff which I'm not really interested in. And let's be honest, the price is I'm never gonna get a bargain there, am I?
Exactly.
Not that I'm really fully focused on that. I would actually arguably like pay the same amount as other places, or maybe even a little bit more if the experience was fantastic. I mean, I did genuinely used to love places like Electronics Boutique back in the day, and also Game Station.
Yeah,
obviously bought Game Station, but Game Station we've covered this, I know, but like they feel like genuine gaming fans or people that really like worked well in that environment. They felt legitimate, and it always felt like a good experience to go there. It felt very like sort of guerrilla and indie in a way. It wasn't like the tidiest stores, but it felt like a good place. Game feels totally different. Doesn't have that expertise, in my opinion.
I used to love like going to those places and just like like flicking through the racks and stuff to see if there was anything like good. And this was before. I mean, this is kind of before like internet was like what it is now. Where it's like you could always get it cheaper online now wherever you look. So there was a very good chance that you could pick up a bargain in one of those places. But it's impossible.
Or just find
now.
Stuff that you didn't know about.
Exactly,
already.
There's that as well,
I used to really enjoy going to, I'm sure I've told this before, but the game that used to be in the Arndale Centre in Manchester. And it used to be fucking huge. And like as soon as you walked in, there was like a massive TV which was like just showing like trailers and intro videos to get. I remember just like going there once and they were showing just the intro video to Final Fantasy VIII, and it was just like, oh, and you just stand there for like 5-10 minutes watching it, and then and just wandering through. It was like going to a library or something. Like there was just so much stuff there, most of which you either hadn't heard of or maybe you'd read a bit in a magazine. I was like, oh my god, they've got this. And it felt like a genuine act of discovery going there. Whereas, I mean, is it games' fault that that's not a thing anymore?
I was going to say, is that because the internet is here and we know too much? Like, when I was younger, I'd go there because I'm like, oh, what games are out? Or what games could I see? Now I either know or or get online, or like there won't be a sense of discovery really in any shops because we know it, or we can find out on our phones instantly. So it's a case of the internet giving us so much knowledge we don't need to go there for discovery, and also know we're not going to get a bargain. I mean, the last place for this that's still happening is like CEX, because I don't get it that often, but when I do, I'm like, there could be any old shit on these shelves, and it is always fun to sort of look through and see if there's any old games I remember and stuff, but it's like gaming is such a massive booming it's such an industry with like bigger. We've all heard bigger than music and films. Like, why isn't there like a decent retailer on the high street?
There's not a decent retailer for music anymore either, is there? It's really if you think about it.
I guess it probably doesn't need it, but it's just sad, really.
It is a shame.
Yeah, but Mike Ashley will be putting all his money behind this company, so I'm very excited to see.
Oh, definitely, he's definitely going to do that. Okay, the last thing I've got is because Matt sent this to me actually, and I think it is very interesting. It's talking. It's very good. I mean, this is talking about who won the attention war at E3 this year. So this was a website called ICO Partners, and it's this guy called Thomas Bidal who has analysed the impact of E3 in social media and through articles and everything. I mean, there's a lot of figures in this article, but it is. I mean, there's just some key points that we can look at. So Xbox came out on top in terms of coverage, with Nintendo just behind. But the interesting thing about it is that Sony's coverage was still 76% of Xbox's, despite the fact they didn't even turn up. So it's like people are still talking about them, and their articles are still written, and games obviously are coming to it as well. So, I mean, Sony have got to be looking at that and thinking that's not bad. Like,
that's amazing. Yeah, it's a total freebie.
We've spent no money and we've got 76% of our competitors' stuff. I mean, that's not bad. So,
but is that how much of that is people being like, but why weren't Sony at E3? Like, do you think that was a talking point in and of itself and won't be next year?
Maybe.
I think that definitely. I mean, overshadow is probably the wrong word, but pretty much every conversation that has been had about E3 is like, well, but there's no Sony, or well, where the trailers can be shown, well, Microsoft because there's no Sony, or shame it's not that Sony. I felt like that was always in the conversation, even if you weren't directly talking about PlayStation. So they played an absolute blind. They didn't have to turn up. They owned the conversation in many regards, and save a ton of money.
Yeah, and like regarding the number of articles produced, like PlayStation was still the most mentioned console as well, which is crazy. I mean,
that is weird.
Presumably, that's because they've just got a massive user base, haven't they? So it's like, any third-party games, which are mostly was what we're being shown, then of course they're going to talk about that. Nintendo did well when they were discussed in isolation of the other two. So if it was just talking about Nintendo, they did really well with that. And Square Enix was the most talked about publisher.
Okay. I'll dive it down to Final Fantasy VII remake.
I think so.
Yeah.
But also, they noted that there were fewer VR articles this year compared with last year. But Devolver did very well, and they came ahead of Sega this time, which is wow. Yeah. What do you think was the most talked about game?
It was got to be Cyberpunk, surely.
It was. Yeah. It was Cyberpunk with Final Fantasy VII just behind it. So yeah.
Okay. What? Do you know what's third?
I can't remember.
Okay.
I'd have to open the article.
I can't even think what it could be. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I guess Keanu is obviously a massive talking point anyway. So, with regards to Cyberpunk,
yeah, totally. Star power, mate.
Yeah, but I mean, even Stadia was talked about quite a bit, at this thing. So, it's not bad, I guess. It's exciting.
Yeah, Stadia's still happening, I think.
Okay, Matt. The number 3 was Marvel Avengers.
Oh, okay, yeah. I guess that makes sense. So Square Enix would make sense because they had both Avengers and Final Fantasy VII, so they had,
one that's... Ones. I suppose that covers two bases as well. Obviously the Avengers game is going to get talked about in much wider circles than just purely game stuff, isn't it? Because Avengers, quite a big deal.
Yeah.
But Sony won E3 without turning up.
Amazing.
Crazy.
Oh, none of us went. Did we win?
Yeah, I was going to say, but is TCGS not on the list?
It's the biggest.
Sadly not, no.
Next year.
We're still working out our show, aren't we, for the...
TCGS Con happens next year.
The TCGS showcase is still...
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you're joking. People are up for it. We've had tweets and stuff.
Really?
Yeah, or it might have been in the Discord. I can't remember. Mm-hmm. I mean, of course, people are up for it. They don't have to do anything. They just have to sit around and...
God, that'd be amazing. We could do a show and everything.
A certain Peter Molyneux got in touch. We'll reveal more next year when we're ready, but it's safe to say, block out your calendars.
Okay, and that's it. That's the end of the news.
Christ. Oh my God, we have to do what we've been playing, don't we?
We do. We haven't done this for a couple of weeks.
We haven't in a while. What are we going to do? Are we just accepting that this is going to take a while, or are we just going to try and blast through it?
I don't know. Well, it depends. We'll just keep going and see what happens.
So we'll play it by ear. It's fine. Let's start with the one we've all played, because we've all had a shot of my friend Pedro, haven't we?
Yeah.
We have.
I haven't finished it. I've got to the end of the second world, if you could call it that. So no, I'm saying no. I got into the third one. Sorry. Have you guys finished it, or
I have? Yeah.
I haven't. I played it an hour and a half. So no, I haven't quite finished it. I haven't finished it yet. But what do you guys think? What do you think then, James?
Do you know what's so I've got mixed feelings about this one. To be honest, I mean, overall, I like it. It does remind me of Duke Nukem Manhattan Project.
Okay.
Do you remember that?
That's a deep cut.
I mean, I never played it. I'm aware of it.
It was the 2D side-scrolling one, and it's got quite a similar visual style. I mean, gameplay is nothing like it, obviously, but it just I don't know, the visual style reminded me a lot of that. But I really felt with it that the mileage you get from it depends on how much time you're willing to put in to make things look cool. Is the thing.
Right, yeah.
Because it's very easy to run through the game, occasionally using stuff that make it look really good, but if you put a lot of time into it, then you can definitely make it look like a sort of, like a film or whatever, or like Deadpool or something like that, then it can be amazing. But if you just kind of blast through it, I think maybe you're missing the point. I'm not sure. Because...
Yeah, and it does... it encourages you to do more interesting stuff, because it, if you're getting shot a lot, it's remember, you can press L to dodge, and, stuff like that. And obviously, you finish every level, and it's not a dick about it. You just get a rating from C up to A or S. I can't remember. I've never got anywhere above B, so I don't know how high it goes. But yeah, you get a rating, and it's not it doesn't bollock you for it. It's just it's clearly the lowest available rating if you get a C. So it's just politely pointing out there was a better way of doing this. So that's fine. I don't know. I think my only issue is maybe I'm just very shit at it. Maybe there's going to be videos of people playing this at a really high level that's going to make me feel really dumb.
Oh, definitely will be. That always happens.
But I just felt So for example, like for most of the game, you have like twin pistols, and it explains, here's how you can go into slow motion, like jump in the air, do a somersault, and then there's like two guys. You can, you can aim at one guy, and then you press the left trigger, and you can aim your other gun at someone else, and you get bonus points for doing what it calls a split kill. I just found like so many times I was doing that, and I was sort of flipping through the air in slow motion. I was going bang, 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 shooting the guns, and even though I was targeting the people and it was auto aiming at them for me, it was just like not enough of the bullets were landing because the guns were a little bit inaccurate, and then I'm just like rolling on the floor, and then the guys are still there because they've taken a bit of damage but not quite enough to kill them. And I was just like, just die in one hit. If this is to make me look cool, then why am I like falling prey to like, oh well, you did the thing we told you to, but you just randomly your guns weren't quite accurate enough and didn't.
That does happen at the beginning, but then later on you get more powerful guns, and that doesn't happen so much because you get.
I got the twin Uzis, which are a lot more fun. Yeah.
Also,
I don't know.
Did you see? I had a weird thing with the button placement as well, with the way this works, because you've got like the kick move.
Yeah.
So you can also direct the kick with the right thumbstick.
Oh, can you?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. You can aim it, can't you? Yeah.
How do you press X to kick on? We're using the right thumb and also direct that. Okay.
Imagine trying to direct, like, do the direction and also press X at the same time. It's kind of impossible. Like, to
doesn't
do
work.
That. Yeah, it's like the button placement, like the way I don't know why they chose that, because it really. It makes it almost. I mean, I gave up doing that because it was just like I can't do this. I'm gonna. My thumb's already hurt. I can't do that. It's gonna destroy them.
I found I've been doing more like I've just been doing a few rounds, and if that hasn't killed the person, running up and kicking them, because that felt like the quickest way of finishing them off.
Yeah.
But and it's like, I totally get what you mean about the whole split thing. Like when I've been doing that and not killing them, I've also been pressing L to sort of dodge if people have also been shooting me. To sort of get around it.
I mean,
fair play to it for just not being stupidly hard, because I much prefer a game where I can sort of muddle my way through and get a sense that actually I could be doing much better, but I still get to see the game. Like,
the checkpoint system is really generous in that regard as well. When you die, you don't start far away from where you were at all, really.
Yeah, and the moments when it does work, you do feel cool as fuck, and it is really good fun. I just felt there were so many times where the momentum just sort of went, and it was just a little bit frustrating.
But that's the thing, though, because I think the thing with the momentum is about like whether you've mastered it or not. I think it's like maybe like going back. I'm not saying you got to get good and all that kind of thing. I'm just what it is like after finishing it, maybe going back and then trying to master some of the systems. Then maybe that wouldn't be such a case of it like feeling like it slows down, because I know what you mean, because there's levels where you use like the skateboard and stuff and you're like, this should be brilliant, like you're riding a skateboard down, shooting people and everything, but I kept on falling off, and then it like slows down the thing, but you're thinking, if I could really nail this would be fantastic. But I just think it seriously seems to be a game designed to be mastered and to like spend a long time sort of figuring out the systems and everything for it to work well. This is why I think it is very good. It's just I think it requires a lot more play to like really get into it.
Yeah.
I will say that I was really impressed when I started playing it, because I was really interested in this game when it first got announced at one of the Nintendo Directs or Nindy things I had.
Nindy's ones,
I played it at a Res this year, and I was really disappointed with the frame rate. I'm not sure if I played it on Switch or Xbox or what I played it on, but I was like, oh, awesome, we can play Pedro here. Sat down, and it wasn't really feeling at all, but I'm happy to report that playing it on Switch, those sort of frame issues, especially like the early time I played it, they've been eradicated, and it feels really smooth and fast. But I was not happy when I played that build or whatever it was at Res. I was like, oh no, this game isn't what I thought it would be, but yeah, I think it feels great in that regard. It's nice and fast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Technically, it's spot on. Yeah. It's fine. It didn't blow me away, unfortunately. As I say, it might not be the game's fault.
I think it just requires a lot of like repeated play, really, and just
possibly, which is not necessarily something I'm into. As I say, that there'll definitely be videos of like high level play, and it might inspire me to have another go. Certainly, I reckon this will be at the next Games Done Quick event, one of which is on right now, by the way.
What's on right now?
I don't know what's on at the moment, but Summer Games Done Quick is on this week. If you listen on Wednesday, and it's just on constantly on Twitch, and there's just loads of people doing really interesting speedruns.
Yeah, I think the humour in this is nice. I've enjoyed that in the EA playtime. I think it knows itself quite well. But I think you're right. I think you can sort of model through without doing the ridiculously cool moves, and that's still enough. And then so it doesn't feel as cool or as much like like a dance and stuff as it could do, and as like the best sort of bullet time style games do. They make you feel like you're sort of just getting out of the way of the bullets and doing these cool moves. This hasn't really felt like that. It's particularly certainly like in the initial sort of 90 minutes I've played. How long is the game, James? You finished it, haven't you?
I did. I can't remember. Probably 5-6 hours, maybe. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, nice. It's not super long. I mean, you can if you just sort of go through it, just quickly, it's fine. But as I said, you need more time.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna give more time to it this week and get it done for next week for sure.
Yeah, and absolutely. Like if you're the sort of person who wants to go back and get better scores and stuff, it is built for that. So
absolutely,
yeah, totally. What else, James? Did you finish Gato Roboto, or did you spin it off?
No, I finished it. Yeah, I did finish it. Yeah, I didn't get 100% though, and
no, I
didn't feel the need to do so either. To be honest,
that's just as well because you can't. It does a really weird thing. Yeah, when you go down the big lift to the very final bit, like that's it. It auto saves and you can't go back up.
Oh, okay. It does warn you that though. I think before
it does. Yeah. But yeah, I got sort of like 96% completion or something, and that was like 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I absolutely loved it.
Yeah,
go on.
Yeah, I very much enjoyed it as well. I thought it was the pacing in particular was really good. I mean, it felt quite short though. Did you find that? I mean,
absolutely is. Like
I felt like it was about a third the length of a game that I thought it was going to be. Do you know what I mean?
I knew it was going to be short going in, which is part of the reason I wanted to play it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, just because time being short as it is, and also just the fact that it's really interesting to see. Like, obviously, Metroidvanias are generally pretty sprawling, and it's like, you're usually looking at sort of 20 plus hours for a decent Metroidvania, because the whole point is, it's a fucking huge map, and you're going to spend ages uncovering it and finding all the secrets. Whereas this is like I say, 96% completion in 4 hours.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting in terms of the pacing, because you're like, you can do all that Metroidvania stuff, but way more quickly if you wanted to. Like, it's totally possible. And I just thought it was pretty funny. The stuff of getting in and out of the suit and having to just play as the cat was pretty good. It's like really interesting.
But it was really well signposted as well, as in like, where you've got to go next, but without it feeling like it was. It was.
Yeah, absolutely. And there wasn't too much. Yeah, the shit Metroidvania thing of like, that's a thing I don't recognize. I can't deal with it yet. I must have to get an ability and come back. Like, it doesn't rub that in your face too much at all. Yeah, good game.
So how do you think this compares to other sort of recent Metroidvanias or other ones you played?
Like, obviously, it's not like something like Hollow Knight, which I got like fully obsessed with.
Sean, I was thinking about that again the other day. I still keep listening to the music because it's amazing, and it just reminds me of playing the game. And it's just that's so good.
Yeah, something like Hollow Knight properly gets in your head, whereas this won't in the same way, but you'll have a good fucking time playing it, and you'll finish it in 4 hours and go, brilliant, that's a responsibility I don't have to think about anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great, really good. I've got a few short ones I might just crack on. So Shovel Knight, I finished Shovel Knight.
Right, okay.
But yeah, fucking great, man. So good. The final boss is amazing. Like the fact that it's sort of spoilable says it all. I think like I don't want to give away what happens in it because it's just proper good. I'm so glad that I went back to it. I'm probably not gonna bother with the DLC because I started the I can't remember. There's two different DLCs. I forget the name of the one I did. The one who's like a Grim Reaper fella, and like it is really interesting. Like his movement, the way he works is like he sort of, as you're running and jumping around, basically when you're in the air, if you're near an enemy, you can like do an attack that then sort of slashes through the enemy. So it's essentially like a traversal ability, and that's really cool. But I think think I've had enough. Like the levels are basically just like remixes of existing ones that you've already just played through in the original Shovel Knight. Maybe I just need some time away from it. But I'm so happy I finished the main game. Void Bastards, I streamed.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah, you did.
And it was terrifying. No, well, generally speaking, it was fine. But there were a few bits.
You said you were scared on it.
Yeah, I'd fully shat pant.
What about it was scaring you exactly?
It's just the fact that. Okay, so just to explain, this is like a sort of a roguelike, where it's first-person shooter, but you're traveling between like derelict spaceships in space, and they're full of mutants, and you have to grab like certain pieces of equipment. But like, there's different quirks around, about the different ships. Some of them, might not have any lights, or some of them might have like way more harder enemies, or some might have like the power generator's fucked, so every like minute or two the power just goes out and you've got to run back to the power generator and turn it back on and stuff like that. And like obviously your sort of equipment and ammunition stuff is quite limited, so you have to be careful. Like you don't necessarily stop at every ship, or every ship you go to, you don't necessarily have to like scour every single room. It might just be a case of like if you're after a certain piece of equipment to make a new gun or whatever, and it's likely to be in the engine room, then maybe just make a beeline for that and then get out. But yeah, it just gets really tense because it's quite easy to die if you're careless. As I say, you run out of ammo quite quickly if you're not careful with that. And there's just really big, horrible enemies occasionally that just like come out of nowhere. It does like a nice thing. Do you ever play 13? That first-person shooter based on the French comic. Yeah. So this does the onomatopoeia thing of like enemy footsteps, like you sort of see them in front of you as like say like tap 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 or whatever, which is really useful. It just gives you an idea of what to expect in the next room or whatever. But even so, like stuff will surprise you, and it is terrifying. And because every time you die, you get like a new character, and some of your stuff carries over and stuff. So it's not the end of the world, but you do, if you're having like a particularly good run, you do get really protective over your character, and like. So you do start worrying about like, what if I died? Yeah, properly enjoyed it. Like really, really good. The whole aesthetic is amazing. It's proper sort of 2000 AD, sort of all like sort of 80s, 90s comic book style. Like it's cell shading, which we've all seen plenty of, but it's just, I don't know, just something about the look of it. There's just something really clean about it. It's really nicely done. And that was great, and that's on Game Pass on PC, so I didn't have to pay any money for it.
Oh, nice! What have you been enjoying? Are you still enjoying or going back to Game Pass on PC regularly?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they've like really added anything major since I signed up the other week. Obviously, it's only been a couple of weeks, so that's fine. Obviously, yeah. So played quite a bit of Void Bastards. Obviously, my keep dipping back into Forza Horizon 4. I've downloaded like Astroneer and Wolfenstein 2 and Moonlighter as well. I'm really excited about playing that.
Oh yeah, I noticed that was added. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like tons of stuff to try out, and I'm probably, I think I said this last week, I'm probably going to sack off my Humble Monthly sub now. Nice. So, yeah, pretty happy with that. Two more quick ones. Destiny 2, Season of Opulence is out. Do you know what? It does genuinely seem really great, but I've just got so much to play at the moment that like I've put a couple of evenings into it and just came away like I should have played any one of a number of other things. And like... Destiny 2 is an amazing game, and it's especially brilliant when you haven't like really got anything else on. It's like a good default game to fall back on when you can't really think of what else to play. But when you do have tons of other things to play, and you end up sinking an entire evening into Destiny 2, and I was just coming away just being like, didn't really achieve anything, and I could have like put more time into like Wandersong or any of the other games I've mentioned, or I got NBA 2K19 for $3. Did you guys see this?
Oh yeah. That was like we thought it was like a price issue over E3.
Yeah. But so on the American eShop on the Switch, you could get NBA 2K19 for $3. And
on the Switch?
Yeah.
Oh fuck! I thought it was only on Xbox.
Yeah, it's on the Switch.
Is that still the case?
Maybe it was intentional. I don't know.
Please now.
So I bought that, and I'm just like, that's going to take ages to learn, because those games are not easy. And And I'm just like, wow, do I need to? Like, realistically, I'm not going to have time to do any of the new, like, proper high-level stuff in Destiny 2, so maybe I'll just put that to bed until the next proper big expansion comes out, which does look great. And I have enjoyed what I've played of the Season of Opulence. Basically, the main thing they've added is this menagerie mode where you basically, like, you and 5 other people are just running through this, like, random assortment of encounters against, like, basically co-op events where stuff's happening, and there'll be like specific objectives you have to fulfill, and the better you do at that, you get more stuff and the usual. But it is good fun. I just don't think I've got the time anymore, or so just not at the moment.
Yeah. What do you think about the Eververse changes that they've made?
Oh, I mean, they're fine. It just seems a bit easier to actually buy specific things that you want rather than it just being loot boxes. So it's just surprise mechanics. It seems fine to me. It's not something I've ever delved into in Destiny 2, really.
A lot of people seem quite pumped about it, saying it's a lot better now, because now you can just do what we want, essentially, rather than having to buy certain things, having to pay extra dust to change shaders and all sorts of shit.
Yeah, exactly. It all just seems like it's, you can very specifically say what you actually want to buy now, and that seems better than just rolling the dice repeatedly buying loot boxes. I mean, yeah, between that and the fact that, the next expansion we're getting full cross-save, I think it's very happy to wave goodbye to Activision, to be honest. I don't know if it was their fault that we didn't get cross-save. Apparently, there were reasons they couldn't discuss why. Apparently, the cross-save has been working for ages and they just couldn't do it because we weren't allowed. Who knows? So, yeah. Yeah, I'm excited about the new stuff coming out in whenever it is, like October. But
I know what you mean, though, Sean, because I keep meaning to go back to Destiny again because I haven't played it for a couple of months now, I don't think, since we did that stream. And it's just, I do want to play it, but I've got a lot to play through at the moment, and it does feel like that game to play when you haven't got much on.
Yeah,
and,
totally.
Yeah,
I mean, and it is, I can't stress enough how good it is for that. Mm-hmm. But as you say, when you've got so much other stuff on, it's like, just like you can't just spend an evening on it and be like, great, that was a complete experience. It's like, no, this was the first step of me spending another 100 hours on it. Yeah. Because there's so much to do. A very
enjoyable 100 hours, but it's still, 100 hours.
But you'd get nothing else played in that time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if I wasn't doing a podcast every week and or streams, I would just play that. I would just play Destiny.
Yeah, totally.
It's a nice, enjoyable game you just keep playing every single day. But
absolutely, and especially if you've got a group of mates, like I've mentioned, there's a group of guys nearby who they play COD every Thursday, and sometimes I go and join them. Guys got like a home office and they have loads of PCs set up and stuff. I'm still like, man, if they played Destiny 2, holy fuck, that would
get them in there, Sean.
Yeah, if we just went, like, if I just go every week and we just played, did a fucking raid every Thursday night, whatever, that'd be fucking brilliant. That'd be so good.
Yeah, do that. No, just start saying.
They just want to play Call of Duty, so whatever. Last one, Slay the Spire, I've been playing on the Switch.
Oh yeah, I've heard loads, but I haven't actually looked at what this game's about, but I've seen lots of people talking about it.
It's very good. Please
don't tell me about more good games on the Switch.
Yeah, sorry. It's perfect for the Switch as well. So I think this has been out in some form or another on PC for a while. And it's finally come to the Switch, and it is ideal for it. It's you remember the other week I talked about Nowhere Profit. It's a sort of roguelike deck building game. So
I'm out. Okay.
No, stay with me. It's fine.
It's a roguelike and it's a card game. It's like...
Are you not a card game guy, James?
No, not at all.
You'd be, no,
I'm not a fan. No.
Okay, that surprises me.
You love Rami, don't you?
No, it's just Happy Families, Matt. It's the
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
It's a snap.
Uno.
Uno was great.
So you're moving across. Yeah, there's like a map with all like points on it, and you're choosing where to go next. And either battles happen or events where you talk to people. But the battles and stuff are all dictated by a turn-based card game. So you have like your hero, and then all your cards sort of represent your abilities. The reason, like the way this is different to Nowhere Profit is that Nowhere Profit was like you were like a character, but you had like a bunch of followers who were with you, and all your cards represented the people who are with you, and they could die, and that was really tense and interesting. Whereas with this, it's pretty much it's just you, and all the cards represent like your actions. And it's just fascinating in that it's one of those games where you you think you've been really fucking clever. Like, you'll get a certain, like, synergy of cards. So I had, every turn you can play cards that increase your block score, right? So you can see what the enemy's going to do next. So you might see, like, right, the enemy's going to attack me for 10 damage next turn. I've got 2 block cards, which are worth 5 block each. Play both of them. You then soak the damage. You don't take any damage. Brilliant. But then you also get cards. There's like a card that's like called Body Slam, which inflicts your block score as an attack, as attack damage, right? And then I got a card that normally when you assign, if you use block cards, you increase your block score, and then whatever happens, the end of the next turn, that block score resets to 0. I got a card that stops that from happening, and then I got a card that doubles my block. So you're like, holy fuck, if I get to draw the right cards, I can like give myself like a really high block score, then double it, then make it so it doesn't go away, and I can just do body slams every turn and do shitloads of damage. And like, I'm amazing, I'm really clever. And then you quickly realise that, and then you quickly realise like, oh no, like the game wants you to do these things that kind of feel like cheating because it just gets difficult enough that you kind of need to. And yeah, it's like, you look up like other people playing it, they're all doing things that initially seem like, oh my god, this game's broken if it's letting me do this is ridiculous, I'm so overpowered. And then you get to like the next floor in the game and it's like, oh no, this is about where I'm supposed to be. I just am supposed to have manipulated it to this extent. And it's just,
that's cool then. That's cool how it makes you feel like you're doing something you maybe shouldn't be, and then it sort of builds on that. Yeah,
and it just turns out that that's just how you're meant to look at it. And I'm always into games like that where it's like, oh man, I'm so overpowered. It's like, no, game's built like that. It just feels like everything's a cheat. So yeah, really enjoyed that. I think, I've definitely missed stuff out because it's been so many weeks since we did what we've been playing. But
have you played the Outer Wilds yet?
No, I haven't. Need to sort that out. Like, and there's that, and I really wanted to play more Wonder Song because I streamed that. Was that like 2-3 weeks ago? And like properly fell in love with it, but I kind of thought I don't have anything to say about it that I didn't already say on the stream, so I kind of want to just get that finished and then sort of properly debrief on that because I really loved it.
What was that game again? What did it look like? Because I've seen the video, but I couldn't quite remember.
Wonder Song.
Yeah.
So it's the one where it's like a 2D platformer, and you're a guy who kind of solves problems by singing at them. But it's just so impossibly sweet and heartfelt about it that it was like properly, like there was a couple of bits on the, like it says it all, and there's a couple of bits on the stream where I just stopped talking because I was like, no, I'm just going to let this happen. I'm not going to.
Oh, nice.
Because when you're streaming, there's always the temptation, like whatever's going on, you're like, oh, I need to keep being funny and entertaining, and need to keep saying stuff. And there were just like I say, just these properly, like sometimes really sad or really poignant bits or really happy bits. That I was just like, I'm just going to shut up now. Like, properly impressed with that. And I've obviously only played like 2 hours, so I'm going to play a lot more of that and hopefully get it finished this week, I think.
Oh, nice.
So yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm just looking at pictures now. I remember you playing it now. Yeah. It looks. It sort of reminds me of Piku Niku in the style a little bit.
Visually, yeah. Visually it's quite sparse, I guess. Maybe that's a bit harsh. But it was, just the writing and the scenarios and and the way it plays and stuff. Just really interesting. But yeah, I'll get more of that played and then do a full rant about it soon. Matt, do you want to do yours?
Yeah, so I played my friend Pedro, but I'm mostly playing Cadence of Hyrule.
Oh yeah,
over last week, and this has been like a real roller coaster of emotions for me. But Cadence of Hyrule, if you're not aware, it's basically like would you class it like a remix of the? Is it dance? So it's
a Zelda-fied take on the Crypt of the Necrodancer, isn't it?
Yeah, so Crypt of the Necrodancer is the game that's sort of a mix on. I haven't played that before. How old is that previous game?
It's been around long. It's one of those, every time there's a sale on, it's like £2 or whatever. So a while, I think. It's meant to be great.
It was £1.79 when this came out, because I think they were doing a promotion kind of thing.
Yeah, I sort of wish I picked it up now, because I think it might be, it's a fair bit more now, but I sort of wish I picked it up. Anyway, but in terms of Cadence of Hyrule, it's a mix on that, which basically means it is a 2D Zelda game, in fashion, sort of like Link's Awakening, Links to the Past, that sort of thing. But the difference is that it's also like a roguelike dungeon crawler with a a rhythm action mechanic.
Okay.
Basically, so there are enemies on screen, and when there are enemies on screen, you have to move in time with the beat. You don't have to move in a specific direction. It doesn't give you like note tracking down the page or anything. But at the bottom of the screen, there are notes. There are like lines which pulsate in time in the music, and as long as you press a direction in time of the music, then you're doing fine. And by doing that, the more you do that, you basically increase your multiplier, which I believe gives you like a better chance of getting a good drop when you kill an enemy. But that's it. You don't have to like hit. So you don't have to go certain directions. You don't have to do anything. You just have to navigate the environment and defeat the enemies by moving a direction on the beat, and that's it really. Although I have found you can sort of do it without that. It just means that you obviously don't get as multipliers. But when I heard with an action game and heard about Cadence, I thought it was like a really, really incredibly strict thing we had to do it. But if you miss a few beats, it's not the end of the world really, because you're still doing damage. But in terms of music, it's absolutely fantastic. I think it might have like 25 tracks of like Zelda songs you know or you recognise, but they're all remixed. And the map itself has got loads of different areas, areas you may have seen and played in like Breath of the Wild. And each of those areas has like a different like musical style. One might be like a sort of metal, one might be almost like folky. Yes, one's almost like poppy. So yeah, the music is fantastic, and it's still sort of in my head now. And I know like the soundtrack, it's on YouTube definitely, but I'm not sure if it's on Spotify. But the soundtrack is fantastic. But yeah, so enemies move to the beat, that you do. But the good thing is they also have their own sort of movement patterns. So certain enemies will only go from side to side. Some will maybe move like an L shape. So for every enemy you see, it feels like a bit of a dance, not just because there's music there, but because you're maybe moving towards them, and like they might be moving above you or below you. You have to move out the way to avoid their attacks, but then go in when you see a gap, or when they leave an opening in their sort of in their movement pattern, you have to go in there, and that is fine with one enemy. But when you go in dungeons and there can be like 8 or 9 on you at once, they can get really incredibly frantic. Also because these enemies can also be like firing projectiles at you as well, and you're maybe using your shield to sort of reflect them. So dungeons can be absolutely mad, and I found myself dying a lot. Now I don't know if it's like the people that I was reading on like Rollmark who all said this is piss easy, didn't challenge me at all. Maybe they're really good, maybe I'm shit, or maybe they're just comparing it to Crypto Necrodancer. But I died a lot in this game.
Yeah, when I've played it for about 20 minutes, and I was starting to get annoyed because I was dying a lot, and then I was just like, I don't want to play this now, and I stopped. And I want to know if I really should persist with it.
I think so. I mean, I didn't think I was shit at rhythm action games, and also you're literally just pressing a direction. You're not trying to do certain like note tracking like Guitar Hero or anything. It's literally just you press a direction, that's it. But yet, for the first bit, I found it fine, and then it got ridiculously hard, and I'll get to that in a minute. And then it was okay again after that. Now there are calibration settings in the menu, and I would recommend sort of doing that when you say switch between docked or playing on the TV.
Right. Yeah.
So I was doing it every time. I don't know if that is the best thing to do, or you should leave it once it's done. Even the calibration thing wasn't great, because when you start calibrating, it's like, okay, you see. I think Link or you see Zelda, and basically, or maybe a Triforce sign, and it says every time you hear like a beep, press up or press a direction. So you hear the beeps, you press up, and then after that, it's like now press a direction when you see this Triforce pulsating. And I don't know if it's like the Joy-Con or what, but I couldn't even like the calibrate. Even a calibration game or section didn't really feel 100% to me. Right. I don't know if that's me. Maybe it's my Joy-Con's knackered. So maybe I was miss like calibrating it. I have no idea. I will say one thing. This must be the only Switch game I played where the Pro Controller is terrible.
Really?
This is not a Pro Controller game.
Is it no good?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I tried to play. I mostly played like handheld, but I did play a little bit of docks on the weekend. And then I was like, okay, well, I've got a Pro Controller. Sure, that'd be better. But it didn't work well at all. The best way to play is I played handheld a lot, and I used like the directional like 4 buttons. Or if I played on TV, I just used it with 2 separate Joy-Con. I found the actual using the sticks was terrible, and the Pro Controller did not work well with this game at all.
can you not recalibrate the Pro Controller with the?
I'm sure you probably can, but I just felt like using the 4 different directional buttons it felt much snappier, much easier than using an analog stick. Of course, you might be more used to that and maybe be better, but yeah, I use both control methods, and the Pro Controller is just not good for this sort of game. I've heard a lot of people actually say this is the first time they've used their Joy-Con grip in months. I mean, I wasn't using it. I was happy to use one Joy-Con in each hand, but yeah. But so this game is a roguelike, so every time you go in a dungeon, and there are 4 major dungeons in this game, it's different. So every time you go in there and then you die, when you come back, it's a different layout. And with it being a roguelike, what you do is you keep some things from a previous run and other things you don't. So you keep any weapons that you find, and you keep diamonds which you find, which are currency, which I'll come back to in a minute. But you also, when you run, you might buy or you might find other things such as boots. And loads of boots you find will give you different abilities, like +1 damage, or you don't slide on ice, that sort of stuff, or rings or shovels or torches. All of those are different abilities and different types of shovels, so you can dig through walls quicker, or you can do extra damage after a dig. So all those things you can find and or buy, but those are temporary. Every time you die, you have to find them again or buy them again. Right. But if you find an awesome weapon, then those stay, and you keep them for everyone. You can also buy things using diamonds which you find, and then what you do is when you die, you then respawn in this shop, and there were 3 randomly generated items, 3 randomly selected items, and it's then you have a choice of for the next run. I might buy 2 of these, and maybe one of them might be a shovel, so you can dig through walls straight away. Or there might be some cool boots, etc. So those are everything you do keep. So by finding diamonds in these dungeons, you're using them to support the next run, which is really useful. And when you go into each of these rooms, when you kill all the enemies in a certain room or a certain screen in the overworld map, you get a diamond. So you get loads of them. They're quite plentiful. But so yeah, this game it's got 4 major dungeons. The first 2. I was loving the game. It's this feels like a 2D Zelda game. Admittedly, it's got a weird sort of mechanic with this musical thing, but with the writing and the style, and it's awesome. It's like a mini bite-sized 2D Zelda game. Absolutely loving it. You find all sort of classic weapons like boomerang and hookshot and all the things that make Zelda. It's this is such a good game. And then after the second dungeon, I went on to the third one, and I don't know. Well, actually, I know I was doing something wrong, but basically, it suddenly got ridiculously hard. There were suddenly way, way, way more enemies in these dungeons. I was getting killed left, right, and centre. It was every room I went to in these dungeons, it's an absolute slog. There's enemies firing projectiles, enemies sort of jumping onto you, and there's absolutely no way. It felt like no way to get out. And I was oh, hang on, this is not good at all. What's happened really? And so that was the third dungeon. I did eventually get to the boss. The dungeons themselves you can actually get through really, really quickly. There's basically, when you go into each dungeon, there's a series of these dynamically generated rooms with a series of different stairwells, and essentially after the third or so stairwell you reach, you then need to find a key for the boss, and then you go to the boss. But I reckon if you know what you're doing, you can probably get through these things in 10 minutes, or 10 or 15 minutes probably. If you're not dying the whole time. So that was the third one. I got to the boss eventually, and the boss just kicking my ass. Now, another thing I've been reading online is people saying, the boss encounters are so easy. It's a real shame. It's really let this game down. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong here? Why am I getting absolutely pulverized by this third boss? And I was watching a video online, and this guy was literally just 2 or 3 swipes, and the boss was dead. And it got to the point where I was even checking in settings in case I'd accidentally set it to hard mode, or accidentally turn a setting on that meant I was getting screwed. I recalibrated the game. I was well, maybe it's that. Because loads of people said, this is just quite easy. So. I mean, what sort of narrative have you guys heard online about this game? Do you
literally
have preconceptions
nothing
about what it is?
Yeah, I've not heard a thing about it, which is weird. I would have thought. I would imagine I'm not really on Twitter anymore. It's quite nice. But yeah, I've not heard. I don't even know anyone who's playing it apart from you, which is weird.
But you said you found it hard, didn't you?
all I've heard is just people just saying how amazing it is and everything, and then I felt bad because I started playing it and didn't feel that it was that amazing. But then, as I said, I've only played it for about 20 minutes, so I don't know. But I'm still scared, Matt, of playing it because my rhythm is terrible, and that's why I just think I'm going to be really bad at this.
But the rhythm should be easy because you're literally just pressing a direction. I guess it's like when these other two dungeons I was doing, I was like, it's the number of enemies. And all their areas, like or if you've got 8 enemies of you in a closed room, and sometimes you go in rooms and the door will lock behind you, and then you basically got to kill all the enemies in that room before you can get out. And if that's the case, then there could be like 8 enemies, and they've all got different like movement patterns, and you're trying to like avoid both their patterns and find a gap to hit them. And they've all got multiple hearts you've got to take down, and there's projectiles. And maybe I was panicking. I mean, I'm obviously known for that in my Dark Souls streams.
See, the other trouble I have is I just get impatient and I just want to kill the stuff. Because it's like, because the trouble is it's like
fucking murderous.
No, because
bastard.
I mean, I've been playing Zelda games for for years and years, like the 2D ones like that, the top down ones, and it's like you kind of know how to play those, and it's like you can't play it in quite the same way, and it feels a bit weird.
It being reminiscent of Zelda actually hurts it a bit.
Well, for me, because it's like I'm expecting to think that I can just go in and do damage or whatever, but you can't really, because you do have to do, as Matt said, you have to watch the rhythms and all that, and it's like I'm a bit impatient with that, and it's
Yeah, so it's because I'm not in the right flow with it, I guess, is the way harder than any Zelda game. Yeah. I never had to stop and walk away from a boss, think, what the hell am I doing, and watch someone else online doing it. It's like this is mad. Anyway, so this was late on Saturday night or Friday night, whatever it was, and I've been loving the game up to this point, and I had to put the game down. It was late anyway, and I was stuck on a boss for an hour. I was I was genuinely gutted. I was like, oh man, I can't believe this game has done this, and I wasn't going to quit or anything. I was going to keep going, but I was like, oh, it's such a shame. I love this game, and yet I'm just I just feel unable to get through it for whatever reason. I carried on,
shame.
And maybe I just concentrated more or focused or whatever I did, and I eventually killed that third boss.
Okay.
So I got through that, and then I got some extra heart containers. I went straight to the other boss, which I'd already been at. So I went straight to the other dungeon, and there's basically Sheikah stones all over the map, and you can use them to quickly teleport and warp to. In fact, no, you can warp to any other place really, providing you've unlocked a Sheikah stone at that location. So I went straight there, did the boss first time. And I was like, okay, I don't know what happened there. Maybe I just upgraded myself in terms of getting extra heart containers or got better or focused, but I got it done. And then actually, after that, I finished the whole game within an hour. And that last hour was great because I went to this last location. I got an incredibly powerful weapon. And suddenly I was ruining fools left, right, and centre. I was like, okay, I feel a bit more at home now. This is a bit more like the sort of Zelda game I've enjoyed in the past, and that last hour was excellent. And the final boss actually wasn't that too much of a difficult thing either. And overall, I think it's an excellent game. I was really taken aback by how much I got stuck, and maybe that's just me being shit. But after I finished it, I looked up some guides, and turns out I've been playing the game wrong. Because basically what you can do is, I mean, there are these locations around where if you find an empty bottle, you can upgrade you can basically have extra damage or healing ability. I didn't have that. So when I was low on hearts, I was low on hearts. I couldn't quickly go to a corner and heal myself up. So I don't know, I just didn't find an empty bottle. So for that,
so basically you've accidentally one-broed it. Is that what you're saying?
Possibly. And also you can infuse your weapon, and you can infuse your weapon with poison or damage or do something else. I didn't do that either.
Amazing.
So yeah, maybe I just made it really hard for myself. And also I was using a short sword a lot, and that's one of the earlier swords. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I got through. I did absolutely love it. It felt. I mean, this is such a shit thing to say, and I hate myself, but it felt kind of Dark Soulsy, guys. In that basically, when you die, you lose all your rupees and stuff. Yeah. But then it's a case of having to go back. But unlike the one thing it hasn't got that Dark Souls has, you can't go back in and collect your rupees.
Okay, you just lose them.
It didn't. Okay, if you lost everything, and then you have to go back and rethink, and you can't just bowl into enemies. I felt like I had to understand what their moves were, and not just run in and try and kill them all. If you do that, you could be dead within seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really like that. I mean, I'm worried I'm now going to say, oh, well, that game's got a sword, so that's Dark Souls. That game's got a menu, so that sort of reminds me of Dark Souls in a way. But yeah, I thought it was really excellent, and I think lots of people have said it's actually not that hard, so it's probably just me being shit or not understanding the mechanics. But yeah, I thought it was really good. I mean, like some people saying, oh, it's like 20 odd quid, and Dancer, the other game like Necromancer was like 5 quid, so is it really worth it? But I don't know. I thought it was excellent, and it felt like a sort of mini. Bite-sized Zelda game. The one of the annoying things about the game is that it's got a game clock, which I love, but it's a game clock that I think there's a couple of other games that do this, so it doesn't actually count the time you're playing it. It counts the amount of hours that game has been active on your Switch.
Oh, so it's just meaningless.
Even in sleep mode. And I had this like a week ago. So when I finished it, it's like, well done, your game clock is 105 hours. I have, and on my Switch it said I play for 15 or more. Brilliant. Which is fine. But yeah, why do games do that? Like, it's amazing we've got a game clock. Brilliant, I love that. Why have it so it's every single second? Basically, it's every second that game is active and you haven't maybe played another game on your Switch.
I guess it's not an active clock, is it? It just looks at like, this is when the session started, this is when it ended.
This is when the application was open.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, it must just be a peculiarity about how they implement it, I guess. But yeah, it's a weird oversight.
Yeah, but no, James. I think even if you're worried that you're sort of lacking in that sort of rhythm, I think you still keep playing it. I think it's an excellent game, and it just feels like another little Zelda game. And yeah, it was great to hear the music, and I think the mechanic of having to move in time and music is interesting. Actually, what I did was on that third dungeon when I was really stuck, I went into another mode called fixed beat mode, which basically I looked into it and put like, if you're finding it difficult, go into fixed beat mode. You don't have to move with the beat at all. There is no like notes at the bottom where you have to like hit. You have to move in time with the beat. You can move however you want, and enemies only move when you move. And I did that and got through a bit further in this dungeon and eventually get to the boss, but it was really unsatisfying. It was rubbish, really. I felt like a completely different game. So there is that. If you're struggling, you go to fixed beat mode, and then you can do what you want, really. But I'll still recommend it. I thought it was excellent.
Yeah, cool. I'll have to go back to it because it's. I mean, I think the other reason why I was initially kind of a bit put off is I really want to play Link's Awakening. And it's like I want to play that, and then I thought to this
I'm so excited. I'm excited
anyway,
but I cannot wait for that game.
Yeah,
that's going to be good.
Do you fancy this at all, Sean?
I do, yeah. I've had the same dilemma with the differences in price, as you mentioned, like purely because I think, not like being a dick about Cadence of Hyrule being 20 quid or whatever, just I think I would enjoy Crypt of the Necrodancer, and if I could get that for a few quid instead, that's probably worth doing. But as you say, that soundtrack, man,
that's what it's about, isn't it?
It's absolutely class. And you can also you can switch between Link and Zelda. I also never re-switched. I stuck with Link for the whole time. Again, each of those characters had different abilities. Maybe if I played it properly, and I guess I maybe should have switched if I was maybe struggling with one, or maybe the other one could have had a better ability. But I just stuck with Link for the whole way until it was a bit towards the end. But yeah, like now I finished it, I want to sort of go back in and sort of not 100% it, but there's more things to see, and there's more heart containers to get in the land, and yeah, it's just it's brilliant. When you start your first playthrough, the entire sort of overworld map is generated dynamically, and then that stays obviously. But then if you start a new game, that will generate again.
New, right?
Yeah, and for every dungeon you go in, every time you die and go for a new run, that's a different layout as well. Yeah, awesome. I think it's excellent. So I've certainly got like 15 hours. I think it's well worth. I've definitely got a money's worth for that game for sure.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. All right, you got any others or?
No, I mean, me and you have both been playing some Oculus Quest, but we're talk about that next week because we've got tons of things to talk about that. So we're playing a little bit of that as well, and I played Bloodborne, of course. I'm on the DLC of Bloodborne now. Still really enjoying it.
Oh shit! How are you finding it? Because I cannot do the DLC at all.
It's tough. I mean, I'm on the first boss, which is Ludwig the Accused or Cursed. And I struggled for all the stream on Sunday to kill that boss, and I haven't done, but I am also loving it. It's the sort of boss I love, whereby it really is all about timing and dodging and not jumping in and being greedy about it.
Yeah,
I managed to get into the second phase, but then it has this massive sword, and I've been getting like pulverized, but I'm gonna get it done next week. And yeah, the DLC is a definite instant step up. I haven't finished the main game yet. There's like a couple of bosses I hadn't done. Things like Abritas, I think is his name, or its name.
Abriatas, I think it is.
Abriatas, yeah. I didn't kill that thing, but they're like, people watching the chat said, just go to DLC, get a bit more powerful, come back in and smash it. I think I might have I think I've got 9 bosses in total across the DLC and the game to do before the whole thing's finished. But yeah, still absolutely loving it, and I'm going to get Ludwig done on Sunday.
Cool,
for sure. But yeah, but that's me really.
James, what you got?
I've played quite a few things because it was over the we had E3, which kind of split things up a bit. I mean, because I finished Days Gone. I'll come to that in a second.
You finished it. You actually finished it.
Yeah, I know, it's the longest game of all time, which I'll come to in a minute. But I've also been playing Blood and Truth, which is the VR game.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've not finished it yet, and it's not a very long game, so. I mean, it is probably the most immersive VR game that I've played so far, like at this stage.
Okay.
Because it is really nice, and they've got some of the aspects of it are fantastic. Because obviously, it builds on the London thing that was in the PlayStation VR
London Heist.
The London Heist. Yeah.
And so, but it's got all these really nice touches. Like when you reload your weapon, like I'm using Move controllers, so you have like a belt on you, which it's got like your bullets in and your magazines and everything, and you use one Move controller to like pick one up and then like put it in, like load it into your gun, like with the other hand. And so that feels like really nice. And there's no I've not experienced any sort of motion sickness either, which has been quite good, even though you Bonus. Do it makes you walk forward or run sometimes, and initially it feels a bit odd. But the weirdest thing about it is that there are some scenes in the game which are clearly designed for you to be standing up, and there are some where you're supposed to be sitting down. But it doesn't.
I found this with London Heist.
Yeah,
does the same thing, but it doesn't tell you.
There's no indication. So sometimes you feel like you're very small. Because you're it's very, very strange, so you kind of have to work it out and then refocus it every time when you figure out, okay, I should be there was one bit where it went to the next scene and they were all sitting at a table and I was really high off the ground and I thought, okay, I should probably be sitting down at this stage. But it's stuff like that that's just a bit odd, I mean, the story I don't think is not that great. I mean, it is the sort of the generic sort of gangster kind of thing, but it's serviceable. But the actual gunplay is really very good, and feels very, very accurate with the Move controllers. And it's also got these just the interaction with stuff is great. It does the usual things like lockpicking and stuff, but it's really nice using the Move controllers to do that. You for example, there's a box on the wall, and then you get a toolbox comes up, and then you can pick up the screwdriver, and then turn the screwdrivers, and to get the screws out, and then use tweezers and stuff, and it feels. It does start to trick your brain into feeling that you're actually doing these things, which is pretty cool. And I mean, right at the beginning, and also later on, you do these climbing sections as well, whereby you're climbing up. Up like a ladder or up like a support wall or something like that, and you're using the buttons to grip as well. So it's just a really odd feeling because you're standing there doing it, and your brain does begin to tell you that you are actually doing this. And I fell off a building and was briefly scared as well, at one point, because I was holding on with one hand and shooting a gun with the other. And then I messed up. I thought I need to put another another clip in. So I let go and realised, I shouldn't have done that because I'm going to fall off. There's just been lots of moments like that, and it's but yeah, it's so far it's very good. I'm very much enjoying it, but I do need to finish it because
I can't wait to play this after you. I'm really interested because I love London Heist for what it was, an early demo, and I can't wait to give us a go.
Yeah, so far seems pretty excellent. Okay, so I finished Days Gone, and it is a very long game. I'm not going to talk about it extensively because I've talked about it already before, but I do feel now I've finished this, I do feel it's been criticised rather unfairly in reviews.
Okay.
And I think the main reason for this is because the first 15 to 20 hours of this are incredibly generic and not great. And I think that probably did put a lot of people off because it's not really a fair representation of where the game goes at all. And I mean, one of the things they talk about is like how like sort of these characters, how cliched they are and everything. But it does begin to subvert expectations later on, and there is some real character development. Not with the main character, really, but with others around you. There really are. There's one character in particular. There is like quite significant development, and he really does change through the game. And I do feel that people haven't played it for long enough to really get that. But then that is partly the game's fault as well. Like it doesn't front load anything, which is maybe a bit of a mistake. And it is about 60 to 80 hours long or something. It's insane, like how long this game is. I mean, it got to the point where I've said this before, like about how you remember, like in Red Dead Redemption, how you get to like the epilogue.
Yeah.
Imagine that's halfway through the game, and that's kind of what Days Gone's like. It's like, you get to that, and you're like, I by that point, I was really thinking in Days Gone, okay, I must be near the end now. Look it up. It's no, about halfway through, and you're just thinking, where can they go with this? Like, for longer, but they do, and it's because the core gameplay is so enjoyable. I didn't mind, actually. And even though I was getting a bit annoyed with how long it was, I was enjoying myself playing it, which is to the point where like I play it for like quite long sessions, then think, okay, I've had enough now. I need to stop this. Go off and do something else. And about 20 minutes later, I was like, I'd like to go back to that again. And I think that's a pretty good sign, that it was it's definitely worth still playing.
Because loads of people said the actual core gameplay, like loop, was really boring, but I enjoyed it for it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was quite compelling. It wasn't it wasn't complex or world beating, but it was simple, and I enjoyed just doing the simple mechanics. Really, yeah.
And it feels nice as well. Like all the it's better than Red Dead in terms of like the way that you control, the way you, like the weapon systems and everything. It's way better than that. Like the way that that works, it's significantly more intuitive. Like the way that goes. And I mean, it made me want to get a motorbike. I mean, I'd really like to get a motorbike.
You should get a motorbike and then also get the double dragon tattoo or the two dragon tattoo from Yakuza. And
but
do that.
I said to Chen, but she wasn't keen on the idea.
Please get a motorbike, James. Please do that.
Yeah, and it's I don't know. I mean, but also the other thing about it is the holds, because you see that's the other thing. Like you remember with all the promo stuff that we saw for this game and how they had all those like holds, like sort of dashing at stuff and all that kind of thing. And that was like the thing. They don't turn up until about, I don't know, maybe about halfway through the game. Like you've had to play it for
I heard they were end game stuff, which is a shame.
And it's and like when you really have to deal with them, it is end game stuff. And that feels like a mistake because they are terrifying. Like it really is terrifying when they're coming at you because there are so many of them. Like really, like just and like they're all like their hands all over you. Everything. It's the closest like I felt to being scared, like in like a zombie game before, because they're just so fast and they just surround you and like overwhelm you, and it's horrible. And like when later on you do have to like take out holds, and it is possible to do so, but you really have to plan it, like how you're going to do it, and it feels very satisfying when you finally sort of go on a perfect run and it works out, like where you've like laid a load of traps and stuff like that. I mean, it's one of those games where it's difficult to recommend in terms of saying, this isn't, this is like a Red Dead beta or something like that, because it's obviously really not. It's nowhere near as good as that. But it's still very enjoyable. It's just very long. And, but good.
Yeah, I do desperately want to get through that. I've said I'm going to, set 2 hours a week, or, I just got it. Just if I keep going, I will eventually get to the end.
Yeah, you'll be done by this time next year.
But I do want to get to the end, but But also, I'm glad you got through it.
I mean, the way that it handles like the story and side quests and stuff is also really good, because what happens is you have basically a load of like different story strands that go through the whole game. And at any time you can like bring up your menu of like what you can do next, and you kind of end up doing everything because of the way the strands work. Like you can sort of just and it's a really good idea because it.
But
it means
people are criticising that because unlike say like in Red Dead, I clearly just smashed through it as quick as I could. But I basically played a critical path and got through the game in 2 weeks because it was either that or never. But also there were fuckloads of side missions I didn't do. This feels like okay, if there is no critical path to get through because you're doing bits of every mission, including the side missions. So you're doing everything at the same time, so you can't like smash through the core storyline. You're doing everything, and that's why it takes as long as it does.
No, you could though, because you could still ignore those story strands if you wanted to. But
then you do like a bunch of missions. You're like, okay, so you're 4% into this one. Then you do another one. You're 2% into that one. Then you go back to that one. You're 7%. You can't just go like mission. Well, at least it felt like I couldn't.
Yeah, I mean, you can if you know which ones are the critical ones. Is the thing. I think you could probably. But then the thing is I liked how focused that was. Like I knew what I needed to do next. Like I knew what I needed to, like where I needed to go and what I needed to focus on. Whereas with Red Dead, you don't really get that, do you? Because it is like, I mean, with Red Dead, obviously it's the thrill of like discovering stuff, which this doesn't really have. Like it really doesn't have that at all. But I don't know, the map. I mean, it looks stunning, etc. But I don't know. I'd still say it's been. I think it's unfairly maligned. It's I think it's not bad. But the other game I played is because of Star Wars, I played Battlefront 2. Because
the old one.
Yeah, no, this is the loot box extravaganza.
Right,
the one that came out. Yeah, the recent one from EA with all the loot boxes and all that kind of thing. But
not anymore, right? Did they take it all out completely, or
I don't know because I've not engaged with that because because it was promised.
Wait, you don't like surprise mechanics, James?
I'm not a fan. No, I don't like surprises. So anyway, I thought that by now they would have fixed a lot of the problems with it because I know that also when it came out there was a bunch of other things with like glitchy and stuff like that, and I was wrong because although the campaign is very short and it looks fantastic, a lot of the time it's also really glitchy still. I mean, I put like a video on like Twitter. It's like, especially like in space combat things where I went into this hangar and then it suddenly just completely glitched up and was just like, hanging and everything. From EA, it was a bit of a shock actually because usually that stuff like from DICE and everything, isn't it usually like pretty polished? Like usually.
To be fair, Battlefield games, I think they've been better recently, but like. Yeah, there's been problems with most Battlefields that have come out in the last 5
But it's less that. It's more the fact that this game's like 2 years old.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And I thought,
there's no excuse for that.
Yeah.
I mean, probably I'm the wrong audience for this anyway because the only thing I had any interest in was playing through the campaign, like the story, it has a lot of potential as well.
To be fair, they did make quite a bit of noise about that. There was going to be a proper story, and they had the actor who plays the main character out on stage at E3 and stuff, and they made some noise about it, so I think it's fair to be like, I'm just here for the campaign. Like,
and also it did feel like when you play through the campaign, it feels like this is trying to play into the larger like Disney Star Wars universe, if you see what I mean. Like there's a lot of stuff that it sort of references and stuff, but the problem with it is it does feel like it's an afterthought to the main game still because it doesn't give it enough time to breathe at all. It's really short. I mean, I finished it in about 5 hours or so, maybe less.
Right.
And it's one of those things where you couldn't recommend this to anyone just to play single player because there's that and there's like arcade mode as well where it has like historical battles and stuff, but not really. They last 2 minutes and they're not that great. But and the other thing with the story is it doesn't feel. The balance is really off. Like the checkpointing is terrible, and you often have to keep going back. Like far, like back from where you began and things like that. It feels a bit like it really does feel like an afterthought.
James, did you nearly say far, far away, and then you stop yourself?
Yeah,
you totally did.
But yeah, it's. But I mean, I paid. I think it was like £7 for it. So I just thought. Okay. I mean, I felt.
It's not on EA Access, or do you not have that?
I don't have that. It's okay. Because I was playing it on PS4 Pro, and the others.
Right.
That doesn't represent good value for gamers, I'm sure.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, couldn't do that. But I mean, maybe I'll try the multiplayer one day, but probably not because I can't be bothered. But I was still a little bit disappointed because I was expecting a bit more, to be honest, from the campaign. But some of the stuff it does is fun. I mean, the space combat in it is still fantastic, especially when you can like go in and then like land on other ships and stuff like that. It's just feels like a bit of a missed opportunity. There could have been more there. So the last thing I've got that I played, which I just finished this evening, is The Way Remastered. So this is the game that is always on sale on Switch, and it's like the other week it was like about 79p or something, and it looked like the kind of game that I'd probably like because it's like futuristic setting, it's a kind of adventure, that kind of thing. It's a puzzle adventure game, and I thought this is kind of in the style of like Another World or something like that, but okay, it's more puzzle than story first of all, which disappointed me straight away, because whenever I play any games like this, the thing I really care about is the story. And this is why I like Tardy, that one that I played like a couple of months ago, because that also had that was very similar to this, but really well executed. This one, the puzzles are so obscure and often incredibly like fiddly as well. I found myself having to keep looking. I mean, I looked up tons of times. I'll totally admit that. Because the trouble was, Sean, is you can't even tell what the puzzle's trying to get you to do. Like I don't even know what the goal is here. I have zero idea what you're trying to get me to achieve. Like I have no idea. And I watched a couple of like playthroughs on YouTube, and there was other people who were like, I feel sorry for anyone streaming this game, because I saw this one guy and he was stuck on one bit. It was probably about half an hour or so, and he just like kept on just like saying, I don't know what they've got to do here. I just don't understand. And it's just on that level, on the puzzle side of things, it fails completely, I feel, because none of, like, when I solved puzzles, even when I solved them on my own, I never felt any sense of achievement from doing it. I just felt kind of annoyed that they'd wasted my time, and that they weren't, often a couple of them I completely just did by luck as well. Like, it's like, I don't know what you were trying to get me to do here, and I've managed to do it somehow, which is not good. But the thing is the atmosphere in the game is amazing. And it's got very good music as well, like background music, and like exploring the alien worlds is still fantastic and that kind of stuff. And I enjoyed it for that. But the puzzle stuff made me so cross, like playing this game. I mean, I got through to the end because I just started to be so pissed off with this that I was like, this is not going to beat me now. I'm at one point I was like, I'm just going to jack this in. I've had enough of this. But then I thought, no. I'm going to not let that. This is going to happen. And I was rage playing it by the end. Like, by the time I got to the end, I was just like...
I think you play this game a lot, James. I mean, I every time I've been playing like Cadence over the last week, you've been playing this game. I was like, how long is this game you're playing?
This one, I mean, the way Remastered is only about... it's probably about 3 hours, maybe? 3 or 4 hours.
What? But you've been on it all. Every time I've logged on to the Switch online, I've noticed you playing it.
It's true, yeah. It has been a long time. I need to check. I'll check the thing. Maybe it's 5-6 hours. I don't know, whatever. But it's been a long time. And I mean, I got to the end. I finished it, and I didn't really feel a sense of achievement from finishing it either, because I'd had to look up so much stuff on how to do it. So you don't feel like...
So it did beat you, James.
It kind of did, but I got to the end, Sean, and that's all that matters. I got to the end, and I've seen the ending credits. And so
what's always fascinated me about this game is, like, as you say, it's always on sale. Certainly, if there's like a big eShop sale on, you get it's always in the first fucking row of games that come up when you go to the sale bit. And it fascinates me because they've obviously figured out that, like, I don't know how you get at the top of that list on the sale, right? But as you say, it's always like 79p or whatever, and it's always in the charts on the Switch. So whatever they're doing to get to the top of that, the sales at all times, like,
it's 79p.
It seems to be working. Yeah, because so many people are just like, there's a sale on. Oh, what's this? 79p. Looks like it's got some cool pixel art and some puzzles. That looks all right.
It's mugs
and so many people have bought it.
Yeah.
And like, I've come close several times, but you obviously the only thing that's prevented me was the whole sort of, well, hang on, why is it 79p kicked in, and why have I heard nothing positive about it? So yeah, that's the only reason I've not picked it up myself. But I know tons of people who are just like, 79p, so why not? And that seems to have done really well for the devs.
Yeah.
Because it's always in the charts. But as I say, I don't know how they've consistently always got one of those top spots on the sale page. Like, it's always there. So I don't know if they know someone at Nintendo or they just pay for it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fascinating.
But there's so many bits where I just got so annoyed. Like, the platforming, the controls are generally fine. And the combat, what there is also fine, mostly. But some of the platforming is dreadful. Like, there's one part towards the end where you have to, like, go down this pit. And on every, like, sort of platform that you jump onto, there are also spikes, you see. And it's like, it's one of those things where if you time the jump, like, not quite right, you land on the spikes and then you go back again. I think one of the good things about it is that the checkpointing is quite generous with this. And so it's not too bad. But at one point it was like the checkpoint was not so generous, and I was getting quite fed up with having to like fall down and then accidentally and also like the you can't fall very far before you die either, and it's just I don't know, it's so frustrating because I really love the atmosphere of games like this, and like as I said, the music was so good, but it's just the puzzles just so weird and like so obscure that it is really
a shame. I've said before there have been games where I'm so into the either the story or the soundtrack or the way it looks or just the themes in general or whatever, the atmosphere, but it's unfortunately the actual game bit is just too frustrating and it just kind of spoils it, and you kind of like, could you not have just made it really easy? I just want to it's why I defend Greece quite a lot, because I think if that game had been hard it would have just kind of ruined it. Like the fact that you can basically just sort of plod through and just get absorbed in it is why it really sort of works. So it's a shame, when you get a game like this where actually there's plenty of stuff to love about it, but it's just fucking annoying. So yeah, but I mean, I'm glad you played it because you saved me 79p in 3 hours.
Don't
yeah, thanks for that.
It just looks so nice. That's the other thing.
Yeah, no, I say it does, because again, and that's obviously why it's done all right, because as I say, it appears in the sale and you're like, it's some cool pixel art and 79p. How wrong can you go?
Yeah.
But quite wrong is the answer, I guess.
Absolutely.
Right, is that it for what we've been playing?
Yeah, that's it.
Hey, let's do the emails.
Okay, if you want to email us, it's podcast@thecomputergameshow.com. Kurt Lewin has written, he says, I can see why companies like Microsoft and Google would like a streaming-only future because of the appeal of a subscription model to lock people into, and because it unlocks a whole new casual audience who would prefer ease of access. But a streaming-only future isn't good for the consumer for reasons which have been discussed multiple times. But I wondered if you think physical and downloads will always be an option even when everyone's internet is up to the job of streaming, or will these companies force us down the path they want and ignore the backlash? Could it lead to a new company entering the market if a physical option isn't an option provided by Sony, Microsoft and Google?
I mean, Nintendo are never going to do this shit, are they? So
I think they will. I think they absolutely. Yeah. Because
it's going to be so far in the future, though.
I think they would, because Nintendo are not really that bothered about like hardware, are they, really? In the sense that they make really good stuff, but also it's really about the software for them.
Yeah, but equally, they want people to be able to play things. Like, I think that relying on the internet is too much for them. I think that's what kills it for them, because they want like kids to be able to walk around with their console or whatever.
But you say it, James, but also like Nintendo machines are always the machines where I feel like the hardware matters the most. Like they're the ones with like the unique control scheme, or two screens, or stylus, or
that's true.
Out of all of them, like arguably you could play PS4 and Xbox just using any old standard pad and like an iPad, whereas with Nintendo games it feels like with every console pretty much they've brought a unique new control method.
Although I don't know, because that feels like in the last two generations, like with Wii U and also with Switch, that's been less of a thing though, like in the sense that
would you not say Switch has been the biggest change?
The Switch being portable and a home console has been massive. That's why
that's like a new controller or stylus. That's like the whole thing is different.
Yeah, but I know. But what I mean, but the way you control the games isn't different, though, is it? That's talking about how you consume them. So you either consume them handheld or you consume them like on the TV. Whereas
what about
the whole
1-2 Switch, James? What about 1-2 Switch?
Exactly. Yeah. The games like that are few and far between. Whereas, like the whole point with the streaming is that you can do that. Like you can do it on a mobile device, or you can do it on, like TV or whatever.
And also, Nintendo have been ahead of the curve because you could stream Assassin's Creed, couldn't you?
Yeah.
In Japan.
Yeah. I mean, should you?
No, but they're doing something.
I know what you mean. People, it's something that has been tried.
Which is interesting.
On the Switch,
which is totally out there. When you consider it's Nintendo. Oh yeah, by the way, you can stream this game. It's like what? Like
and wasn't that who is it? The company who make the PC streaming software. They are supposedly still working on a Switch app, so you can stream whatever's on your PC to your Switch.
Yeah, it's not Shadow. I've seen the one. Yeah, it's like
it's one of those. Yeah,
I know what you mean. Yeah.
That's potentially interesting. But I don't know. I think I think Kurt's right in that. Okay, so if all the big companies try and go streaming only, unless there's like such a major shift, like, infrastructure shift, and it's like, oh, by the way, we've got perfect internet in the air everywhere forever.
I mean, with 5G drops, like, I think that's going to take. I think basically, like, Xbox, everyone's basically waiting for 5G, and they're thinking, well, if people can get 500 meg or 700 meg down on their phones, and basically, companies like O2 and Vodafone will have to react. They can't data caps when we're on already at 4G. I can easily go through 20 or 30 gig a month, and I'm not really doing anything. I'm not watching Netflix on my phone. I'm just using the phone. So when we have 5G, when you're literally getting 700 megabyte down or plus, you're getting fuckloads. It's faster than any home internet, really. Data caps are going to have to change, I think. To support that. Absolutely. And then when we've got wireless 5G coming to our phones and our devices at 700 meg down, that streaming and these sorts of things won't be an issue at all. Having said that, so if I think about just podcasts, I use Overcast as my podcast player on my phone. You can stream them, but I download every one just in case I suddenly go into a shit reception area. I mean, it's cool if I've got 4G and some of the speeds are really blazing fast, but then you also go through places where suddenly you haven't got 3G. And just to say, I would rather scrap 4G tomorrow if it meant everywhere was guaranteed 3G. Definitely. It's mental. Really? I can go from 4G in one place to nothing some other place. There's really random black spots on the train. It's how I'm in Leeds, I'm in a big city. How is this the case? Anyway.
I mean, I think in answer to his question where he says, if you think physical and downloads will always be an option, I think they probably always will be an option, but whether there'll be an option for the mainstream or not depends on.
But I think they will. You always hear about America having only loads of people in America don't have internet at all. Certainly don't have fast internet.
Yeah, true.
America's a massive country. It's easy to think. Oh, actually, I'm in Leeds or you're in London. Most of us are living in these big cities. You think, well, it doesn't matter. I've got 4G. I've got amazing, but that's not the case everywhere.
No, and it's not yet. But then I think about how this works with music and stuff. It's like that. You can still physically buy music, and you can still download music as well. But then when it gets to the point where it's so sort of cheap and ubiquitous that it's easier to just stream it, that's where it could be with games eventually, if this works.
Yeah, and I think we'll eventually get there for sure.
Yeah. I suppose, is the answer what's video games' answer to vinyl, for example? So now there's a growing number of people who, Spotify's incredible, but there's a growing number of people who are but you know what? I miss there being a nice physical thing to have and a bit of a ritual in putting it on.
Yeah,
and
it's the floppy disk.
Technically, what's that?
It's a floppy disk.
Floppy disk. Yeah.
Vinyl's had a revival, hasn't it, in the last few years since
exactly,
Spotify
and I think
stuff,
that is definitely a reaction to the convenience of music, because it's people wanting to maybe go backwards a little bit and enjoy the ritual of it and having something to actually look after rather than just disposable. Spotify, you just search for whatever,
rather than having to say, I don't know, room in your house.
Yeah,
space, no clutter.
I could see that happening with cartridge-based games, or whatever, because there's there's the instantaneous nature of it, there's the putting it in the slot and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, but I can't see that with CDs, to be honest.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, CDs,
they were slow.
Yeah, again with the music analogy. Yeah, who can be asked with CDs these days? It's you either get maximum convenience or maximum.
Nostalgia.
But then there's companies like Limited Run who do these physical versions of games where people may have already had it on digital, but they want a physical version of the game. And I think actually those will actually only get more popular. I think the more companies like Limited Run will start popping up.
Yeah, because there's them and there's Special Reserve as well. They do the same thing. They've got in fact, speaking of Greece, they're doing a really nice.
I've seen that. Yeah, it looks really nice. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's going to be more of a market for that. I think you're right. Yeah,
definitely.
It's just not necessarily. Yeah, the format of the game. Yeah, it's always going to be a little cartridge or a disc or whatever. But if you can put it in a nicer box or
with
package it with some interesting art or whatever.
Yeah, that's artwork, physical, some other things. Where I think those things will be. They have a market people who love buying physical versions and the big. Yeah. Limited edition versions of games anyway, but I think as we move more to streaming and people want to hark back to the days where they had physical games, I think those will only become more prevalent, really.
Yeah, also for game preservation as well. I mean, that's another...
Well, that's going to be a nightmare. And yeah, it's interesting that like obviously we've sort of been having these like similar conversations about the move to digital distribution, which was interesting, but now but at least you still had a box that you needed to do that. There's still a console that had, and that sort of carried with it like a certain aesthetic or feel or whatever. Like there are reasons I prefer the PlayStation to the Xbox in this generation, for example. But to then even remove the box completely is another sort of step in that sort of obfuscation between you and the stuff you're buying, or except because you won't be really buying it, you'll just be essentially renting it. So yeah. I like fish and answer out of that, Kurt.
Get an answer, mate. But with like things like iOS 13, which comes out in like September, they've announced that iOS devices will work with PlayStation controllers, Xbox controllers. Okay. And so very soon you can just basically, on holiday, take your iPad, an Xbox or PlayStation pad, use a Remote Play app, use xCloud, there's always third-party apps for streaming both Xbox, your Xbox console to this app on iOS. So already you can sort of get there and survive with just someone not so distant future could just basically be buying Xbox games on their account, not actually have the console, but just play it through the app.
Yeah. I think that's what they're planning, isn't it? That's what they want.
Ultimately, they just want people paying for services, not paying for them to develop expensive consoles with all the R&D and shipping and warehousing and stuff. That's ultimately what they want. If every player just pays a few quid a month for service, that's easy money for them. This whole streaming future, I think, is absolutely fascinating. Like, I'm really excited to see Stadia in September whenever it comes out, just to see what it's like, what happens. Is anything going to change? Are people going to like it? Is it going to fit into anyone's lifestyle? And with this, plus xCloud, plus streaming and all this stuff, I think it's fascinating. God knows where we're going to be in like 5 years. If you think about how much like really gaming feels like it's changed in the last 5 years, of even things like season passes we had at one point, and then, like, I guess even further back, like digital DLC, digital gaming, and now season passes and this sort of stuff. And like, imagine what's going to be like in 5 years' time. It's just, you can't really predict it. With things like blazing fast 5G and all this streaming stuff, it's going to be really hard to predict where we're going to go in the next 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely. So much of it, and especially with the move to streaming and whatever. As I say, so much of it is going to depend on infrastructure changes and technology around that. So it's kind of impossible to say where we're going to be. Like maybe, like me and James have issues around ownership when it comes to streaming stuff, but. Maybe there will be a point where just on a technical level, there's really no reason to fight it anymore. Like, it's just fine.
No, I mean, I don't care about my music ownership anymore. I used to have hundreds of CDs. Yeah. Now Spotify is fine because it's everywhere. It's on every platform. It's just where it needs to be. Yeah, and maybe that'll be the same with games. I mean, even now, like, we don't own the games we buy. We might buy a physical CD or the Blu-ray or whatever it is, but like, the servers can go off tomorrow, the servers can go off tomorrow, and then like we've lost the game. But all that disc is doing is it's unlocking the license to our machine. Like, even now we don't really own them. But
I've definitely mentioned this before. Chris Bratt did a really interesting video about what happens to your Steam account when you die. And basically the answer is nothing. Like, there is no legal framework for you to hand it over to someone else. And I mean, obviously, you could just give someone your name and password.
Yeah, just put your password in your will, and then
but technically, there's no way to do that. Like, Steam could officially, if they found out someone else was using your account after your death, they could just close it down if they wanted to. They probably never will. And I imagine by the time that like a lot of Steam users start dropping off, this might be something they look at.
God, I've a horrible thought with that.
Go on.
Well, you could have, I mean, if there was like a legal way that they worked out how to do all this, you could have companies like selling dead people's like Steam accounts.
Oh my God, that would actually definitely happen, wouldn't it?
Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, when people get like inheritance or whatever, like, they get a watch. So
remortgage your Steam account if you're like getting old and you want to buy a conservatory or something.
Yeah, so, I'm fairly sure there used to be like a program on like daytime TV. It could like Air Hunters or something, where someone dies and they haven't really left anything in the will, and then they're trying to like search through death records or family records and family trees to find the living next of kin. They were just doing the same, but like, so your son, your great granddad Sean had an amazing Steam library, and we think
he's got quite a backlog.
He bought the Way Remastered 7 times. He must have forgotten, but that's yours. Enjoy that on your hologram computer screen, whatever it is. Yeah. Anyway, that's answered your question, Kurt. So that's.
Okay.
He's glad he asked.
Enjoy that.
Matt Spink says, been listening to the show for about 18 months, so a relatively new listener. Another show, keep up the good work. It's obvious that the show is very popular and well known. Okay. But from what I can tell, you guys do this for fun and all have normal full-time jobs and not just from the games industry. However, you seem to know a lot of UK gaming press, like Joe Screbbles and Sam White, etc. For those listeners who have not been with you from the start, could you give a brief history of how each of you got into the computer gaming podcast world, how the show managed to become so popular, and how you know Joe, Sam, Tamora, etc.? It would be great to know more about the people I listen to every week.
Who wants to go first?
I can do it quick because.
Okay, go on then.
I mean, I got into this because of David mostly. I mean, he invited me on Joypod, so I was like, okay, and then that was it.
But how did you meet Dave?
On Xbox Live, when it first started.
God, I always assume it was on a forum, but no,
you didn't do it through Rollmark. You did it for Xbox Live, didn't you?
No, it's through Xbox Live. That's when we first met. Yeah.
What game was it? You you just met and said.
Well, it was all that stuff, right? Because it was that time when Xbox Live first came out, and you had things like Wolfenstein, and there was like Ghost Recon Island Thunder, and all that kind of thing. Yeah, and then Halo eventually. Okay. Yeah,
so I just assumed you were playing games together on Rollmark, or maybe like everyone's on the same Rollmark threads, and then that's how you got friends. So it wasn't through that at all.
No, because it was kind of through that, because all the people on Rollmark were there was not like a huge number of people. I think there was probably about 20 or 30 people that had done it, and so you got onto it through that. Although I didn't know him before then, so it was just through playing with those people. Yeah, and that was it. And then he did Joypod with Michael, and then you, Sean, and then then he invited me on, and so I was like, okay, I'll do that.
Fair enough.
That was it.
Yeah, I mean, mine's also quick. I mean, I met Dave through Rollmark, which is a gaming forum still going. I was on like the Edge forums before that.
From do you remember when that collapsed, Matt? The Edge forum.
Yeah, it's a terrible day because they didn't give us any warning whatsoever. They suddenly said, we're turning this off now. And I think the message said, like, turn it off, go outside and get some fresh air. I'm like, fuck, what?
Yeah, but this moderation went down, and then it was like a whole day of just awful stuff. That was
there was no like, okay, I'm friends with everyone on Twitter. There was nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
So I think that basically happened. Do you remember what year that was, James?
No, I can't remember. I
think it was like 2004. No, hang on. I was at university, so it might have been okay. It doesn't matter. It happened. I now went to university, so I was like, it's sad, but it's okay. I've got university. And then when I came back, I was like, I wonder where everyone went from the Edge forums, and then I found Rollmark, which is rllmukforum.com, and basically through there, I was like active on the forums, and I'm still on there, but I'm not really active. And I heard of Dave and he was doing his podcast, and then we've covered this, but I messaged Dave after the first episode saying, it's really good, but I've got some pointers you can probably use to improve it if you want. And then me and Dave met at meets. I used to do these big meets every year at Bath. We went there a couple of times and met each other and got on, and then went on from there. And then you on Rollmark as well, James. I must have maybe knew you from there. And then you and Cinema and other people used to play like Left 4 Dead and stuff together. And then I met you, Sean. I didn't listen to Dark Zero, but I listened to Midnight Resistance. I'm not sure if I knew you before I listened to that, or listened to that then met you, but. Yeah, but you're the one that's most well connected out of us. Me and James are still outsiders.
I mean, Sean, you stole my place on Joypod as well. Which
I did,
which was annoying. Yeah.
And what was really horrible was that, because I hadn't listened to the show that much prior to being on it. It's like, so I think it was Campfire Burning had messaged in saying so this is the new Farley, and I was like, who's that?
Because I was going to become I was going to do it sort of full time, as it were. But then I went off to China, and then Dave was always like,
then it's not my fault.
Dave was like, when you come back, you can you can come back on. I was like, okay, so that's good. Came back, you've taken the slot. It was,
and if you look at the artwork, it was basically like now with Farley.
Yeah.
It was a little side thing.
If there's anything we've learned since, it's that they should have just had us both on.
Yeah.
Because that's...
they did, didn't they? I mean, that's how it was, wasn't it? Towards the end when we were still doing it. Yeah.
But yeah, right. Okay, let me do mine. So first off, I was good friends with Matthew Lees in high school. I also went to Cubs with him prior to being at high school, but I have no memory of it. Even when his dad presented me with a photograph of us both stood next to each other in our Cub uniforms, I honestly had no memory of that. But yeah, we met in high school.
I didn't know that. You went to Cubs with him?
Yeah. And I was like, no, I don't remember. He's like, I was the guy that fell in the nettles and everyone laughed. And I was like, I remember that. I don't remember you.
Remember that idiot.
And then after that, I went to college and met Ian Dixon, who now is, I can't remember his actual title, he does PR for Square Enix. And then, so when I was at university, I would hang around on the board of Biffo, which is the Mr. Biffo, aka Paul Rose, internet forum, who used to write Digitizer and stuff. On there, I met Andy Hamilton, who was, I can't remember if he was unemployed at the time, but he was looking for just like volunteer writing opportunities, and he started writing for Dark Zero, which is a internet website. And then he sort of got me in there. It was all like there was no money in it or anything, but basically, so I was at university at this point, and I was living in London. I only had about 3 lectures a week, so basically I got to cover like any events we got invited to. So that was a really good opportunity. And and then while I was there, so on the board of Biffo as well, I also met Andy Kelly, who now works for PC Gamer, and at the time he was working on PSM2. And he'd seen some of my writing that I'd done for Dark Zero, and he noted that I always used to bang on about eco all the time on the board of Biffo. So he asked me to write a feature on that. So that was my first like published thing. But like freelance was like really sparse for a long time. It was mostly just doing like voluntary stuff for Dark Zero. But I mean, Dark Zero is weird because like just on Dark Zero, so there was me, Andy Hamilton, Matt Lees did a few bits for us. So Joe Scrabbles of IGN fame, he did some stuff for Dark Zero. That was how we met him. Emily Guerra, who wrote for Polygon. I think she now works for Hit Detection, the consultancy. And Ian Dixon again did some stuff for Dark Zero. So for a website that not that many people have heard of, there was a lot of genuine talent went through there.
You're basically incredibly well connected now because of that.
And that's this is how I met Sam White as well. So he did a few bits of Dark Zero as well. I think it was Matt Lees that basically sort of pointed Sam at us because he was like, look, if you want writing opportunities, this is a website with like some nice people on it. So that was how I met Sam White as well. Obviously Twitter was a major part of it. So through doing like Dark Zero stuff and the occasional print bit, I'm trying to think who was next. It probably would have been Livia White, who was doing stuff for the Telegraph at the time, and then she got me a few writing gigs at the Telegraph. And then that was kind of it. And obviously, so sort of meeting Joe Scrabbles like during the Dark Zero days, he then went through Future and then IGN. So it's kind of knowing people when they were nobody. And they've done really well, and I've just kind of ridden their coattails to an extent.
You've just been with them the whole way.
So, and then obviously, in terms of like meeting you guys, obviously I met you all through Dave. It was when we were doing, I think it was still in the Dark Zero days when we were doing the podcast, and then Dave sort of became aware of it, and we were sort of quite ignorant about what else was going on in the sort of, enthusiast gaming podcast scene. So, so Dave got in touch. I think he asked me to guest on JoyPod, and then it's like through that learned about Gamer Dork. So met like Leon, who now does Kane and Rinse, and it's all just so many people have just moved through so many different places. So like
it's crazy.
It's just weird.
I did the first 3 episodes of this like podcast. It's like something basically is like the mods on Rollmark.
Mm-hmm.
Zibzang and some other people. And we did like a podcast, and then that sort of stopped. And then I think. I think maybe Leon might have been involved. I'm not sure. And then because obviously Zibzang was part of like Kane and Rit. No, actually,
Gamer Dork he was on, wasn't he?
Yeah, Gamer Dork. Yeah, and then Kane and Rit came from that, and it's all quite incestuous. But I've actually the other day I saw like a really really old picture of like it was well, it was us all doing like a live joy pod from EGX. This must be when it was in London first time around. It's like it was us and Dave and Michael Fox and Sven, who now works I think for Future or IGN or someone. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's like and like Chris O'Regan was there, but we've all got hair and it's crazy. But yeah,
it's
a long time ago now.
Like obviously when Sam White first got introduced to us, like if you'd said, "Oh, by the way, this guy's going to interview Dan Houser one day." What? Yeah. Fuck off.
This guy's going to be told by Luke Smith that Microsoft are going to buy From Software.
Legit information. Yeah. So it's just weird where people end up. Mm-hmm. Deservedly, obviously.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Apart from Sam White.
Next one. Deadbeat Punk says, I was hoping to hear about Fable at E3 this year. I've often thought that with Molyneux out of the picture and Rare sitting around doing nothing of great importance, they would have set Rare the task of developing an entry in the Lionhead series, similar to when Bethesda got the rights for Fallout. I originally thought of Rare as they were another British developer that had a good track record with humour in their games. I then recently read about a cancelled Rare project called Urchin, which had you playing in a fairy tale setting as a twisted gothic child with a pet pig, which made me think they would be perfect for the job. So that got me to wondering, are there any cancelled games or dead series that would like to see resurrected and developed by another team? Keep up the good work, etc. Do you know, I was thinking just a second ago...
James, read it out.
What?
He says, "Keep up the great work, you glorious stallions of men." What's wrong with that?
I don't know. Just
read it out, James.
Don't praise, do I? But it's it's funny because when I read that about Rare,
things James doesn't like: weekends, praise.
He said something else earlier as well. Oh, surprises. That's quite common.
When I first read this, though, and he said he originally thought of Rare and what they... And I was... For a second, I was thinking, Rare aren't doing anything these days, are they? What do they do? I've forgotten how to Sea of Thieves.
Sea of Thieves?
Yeah.
Sea of Thieves, mate.
Which we need to go back... Don't laugh. We need to go back to it. It's meant to be really good now.
Yeah, we do.
One day.
We need to do that.
To a list. We're behind Overcooked, but...
Rare would definitely have a good crack at a Fable game. But obviously the rumour is that Playground were working on it, right?
Yeah.
But... Who knows? Oh yeah,
again, next year's E3,
that we'd,
Fable. It's going to be banging E3 next year, isn't it? It's going to be insane.
Great, can't wait. I would love to see a new Fable. I mean, the Molyneux influence certainly. Yeah, like listening to stories about how it actually was making those games. It sounds like he just kind of trotted in and said stuff and had weird ideas that everyone else then had to run around implementing. Maybe an element of that is cool and useful, but I see Deadbeat Punk's point that like maybe if you just got a good reliable team to do it, let's just see what happens. So
it's definitely coming back, isn't it? Fable's definitely coming back. I know there's been rumours, but
I should think so.
I certainly hope so because it is like even now. Like it's a fantasy RPG, but there is something weirdly singular about it. It's quite unusual, and I'd love to see a new one.
Also, it fits with your theory, Matt, as well. If they release the next
Xbox,
they've got a Halo, they've got a Fable. Yeah,
Splinter Cell. Yeah. I'm also thinking like THQ Nordic own Time Splitters. Like basically THQ Nordic own about 60 licenses.
You're thinking Haze, aren't you? You're thinking a new Haze.
I'm thinking Time Splitters actually, James. I'm thinking Time Splitters. Imagine for a new Xbox, there's like Fable, Halo. There's Splinter Cell. It's like there's Time Splitters. Like they're really going to be like bringing turn the clock back. But
yeah, man. To actually answer the question, could From Software do a new Legacy of Kain game, please? Because that setting is totally their shit.
Legacy of Kain. Oh, yeah, man. I also like that. Yeah, but so what? That was a claim, wasn't it, back in the day?
Was it not? I have no idea. It was Crystal Dynamics used to make it, didn't they?
Okay.
Amy Hennig was in charge. So controversially, it was Silicon Knights who originally did the first Blood Omen, and then Crystal Dynamics came along. They were making a game called Shifter, which was nothing to do with it. And then whoever published it may have been Acclaim. I can't remember.
I think
the
it
first
might be
one.
Acclaim, yeah.
Basically, like do this, but make it a Legacy Kain game, please. And then Crystal Dynamics just sort of stole Legacy of Kain from Silicon Knights.
Yeah,
probably for the best.
Great. Was it Soul Reaver? Was that the name of the sequel?
So Soul Reaver was technically the sequel, but like basically it was completely different. Yeah, so the Soul Reaver 2, and Legacy of Kain Defiance were amazing games, and it's sort of left on a satisfying cliffhanger, but a cliffhanger nonetheless. So yeah, and then Amy Hennig left to make the Uncharted games and stuff. So I will certainly never see what she intended, but no. I think it's all dark and gothic and there's vampires and shit. So I reckon From Software would have a good go at that.
Yeah, well, I'd like Amy Hennig to come back, but do
that'd be ideal.
Yeah, can we have her do the Star Wars game, please? That would be nice.
Yes.
But before that, I wanted her to come around and not come around. I wasn't planning to come around to my house and do it, but go to an office and work on a new Prince of Persia game, because it's been a long old time since I've had one of them. They were excellent.
And certainly
I'd love to see a new one of them as well.
Yeah, and like that Naughty Dog expertise turned to a Prince of Persia game would be awesome. I can see
that being like it's like a Naughty Dog style game. It's like Persian ninja style game. I reckon it could be awesome.
Yeah, fair dues. You got any, James?
I can't really think of anything off the top of my head at the moment. I'm really tired.
I was going to say you just want it to be over. Here we go.
It's Star Wars 10.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, anyway, before we speaking of Star Wars, have you heard about so we obviously saw Star Wars trailers and video and stuff at E3, but press got a different demo, and from that they were saying actually it's way more like a Metroid. Well, actually, I think footage of that demo is now out. It came out today.
Oh right,
and or people can now talk about it, and now it feels like a completely different game, but even better, basically a Metroid style game. But they chose to showcase the game as more like an Uncharted style game because. I don't know. Maybe they think that'll work better after a short space of time. But I haven't seen the footage for the new stuff. But people said, it's very much like a Metroid game. There's loads of different planets to go to. You have a certain amount of abilities, and you can go to a certain planet and aren't able to unlock a certain door or get to a certain area. You'll go away. You'll get an ability. You'll maybe be able to go back and then access that area you couldn't access before. Mm-hmm. It sounds excellent.
I'm well up for that. That sounds
absolutely.
It sounds bloody brilliant.
It looked good anyway. Apparently, it's really explicit about like if you haven't got an ability to do something, it's like marked in red on your map.
Yeah. I heard
so there's no like fuck, am I just doing it wrong, or do I need an ability?
Yeah, but if it's like Metroid like style game, or a Metroidvania style gameplay with like potentially Dark Soulsy combat with like or Arkham Knight, like this sounds like it could be really fucking good. I really hope it all gels and and sticks a landing. Because it sounds like the stuff they're doing is excellent. It's interesting that they decided to showcase it as an Uncharted game. I guess if we've got like 10 minutes, we need to make it cinematic as possible.
Sense. If you just kind of grab people's attention, I can see why they made that decision.
It gets me more excited for it.
Yeah, man.
Anyway, we'll better crack on because it's 10:30, as James says. We're on to tweet. It's at Computer Game Pod on Twitter if you want to tweet us. Terrestrial EXC2 tweeted me actually in a week, but I thought we'll talk about it on the podcast. With your recent experience, Matt, should I tackle Dark Souls or Bloodborne first? Consider I have to buy Dark Souls. Now, a lot of people have been asking me as I've been playing Bloodborne, are you loving it? What do you think? And I am loving it, but I think right now I prefer Dark Souls.
Yeah. That's fair.
I feel like it's I love like the much more varied locations. I think Bloodborne's aesthetic is stunning, but it feels quite samey. I mean, I guess it's not. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. If it's a good aesthetic and it's more the same, that's fine. But what I really appreciate with Dark Souls is that you really do feel like you went to lots of different locations. Yeah. So right now I think, and also Dark Souls was my first, so it's got a bit more of a special place in my heart. So out of two, I think I'll probably go Dark Souls.
They mentioned having to buy Dark Souls. It's not expensive, and it is one of the greatest games of all time.
Yeah.
So spend the $5. It's fine. I suppose. I mean, if you get the remastered one, it's probably a bit more actually. But I would say start with Dark Souls just because it's interesting to see the evolution, the lineage, and the evolution of it. So definitely, I would say start with Dark Souls.
I think whichever one you get, you're going to play the other one at some point anyway. So
true.
Start at the beginning. Well, you could say Demon Souls and stuff, but start with the first Dark Souls and go from there.
I think Dark Souls will feel very slow if you do Bloodborne first. That's all, and that's by design, and it's not slow, but just Bloodborne is very fast, and in comparison, I think you going back to Dark Souls after playing Bloodborne is a bit of a jump.
I bet. Yeah.
So yeah.
Although I've been thinking about my next game after this, I don't really fancy Sekiro. I'm like, well, maybe I'll do Dark Souls 2 or 3. You know, I sort of fancy going back to a Dark Souls, but we'll see. But my recommendation is go Dark Souls and let us know how you get on. Phil Waters at Phil Wall on Twitter. What do you think the new Zelda Breath of the Wild sequel's subtitle will be?
I have no
James,
idea.
I presume yours is Breath of the Wild gone to the ocean?
Yeah,
Zelda takes to the ocean. Yeah,
I've got a terrible track record with these. I'm not doing this because it's...
It's also impossible to guess.
Yeah, it's impossible. And plus, like, you forget how good Breath of the Wild is as a subtitle. It's fucking brilliant. When I first heard
that, I was like, hang on, is it Breath of the Wind? I was like, oh no, it is Breath of the Wild.
It was Reggie first read it out, wasn't it? I remember. Breath of the Wild is as it just... I mean, forgetting the rest of the game being an absolute masterpiece, just that as a subtitle is absolutely perfect. But no, I have no idea what the subtitle's going to be for the next one.
I'm going to say it's going to be called Zelda Winds of Time.
Okay.
So it's
Zelda
all like a
Breath of the Wild 2.
Oh,
how's that?
Well, I was thinking sort of like, like Ocarina of Time, but see, everyone's called Majora's Mask. Maybe it's like Wild Mask. That's
it's going to relate to some plot element that we couldn't possibly know at this point, isn't it?
I reckon it's going to have Underworld in the title somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
Isn't that the name of the lingerie place in Corrie?
I wouldn't know that.
No, I mean, I've watched it for many years. That's probably not even right. Underworld. No, what? You reckon?
No.
But Born Slippy.
Let's move on.
That was one of the tracks, wasn't it? Born Slippy.
Look, Matt's brain just go, what else has got Underworld in it?
Quick! Just think about... Born Slippy.
The film with the vampires and the werewolves.
Yeah. Is it called Zelda Tom Cruise? Fuck, no, not that, man, you idiot. It's not a pun. Louis Belfort. How much would you pay for a PS5 after a no-deal Brexit?
For a PS5.
Well, that's a question of like how much is it going to cost after that? I mean,
surely
What I will say, regardless of how much it costs, it's a good thing for this country to get on with the job at hand and do what the people asked.
What price would I pay for a PS5? I mean, the main currency is going to be like bread and stuff, right?
Because we're going to be fighting over things like that.
Yeah,
presumably.
I'll trade one canister of purified drinkable water for a PS5.
Yeah, well, that's going to be like $1,000. Sure,
exactly. With every penny, mate.
$1,000 in old money.
Yeah.
I reckon 600 Maris Piper potatoes.
Yep, bargain. Growing myself.
The sad thing is, it doesn't matter how much it's going to cost. I'm going to get it. I think if we're being serious, I don't think they can't. It can't be more than £500.
They can't price you out.
I think $499 will be the absolute max, and actually, I think it'll be closer to $399 or $450.
Yeah, I think you're right.
$499 is fucking massive.
If our economy's absolutely up the shiter, is it? What if it just has to be more than that? That's just the state of things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So what? PS3 launched at what? Was that $599?
It was a lot, wasn't it?
When they said he needed a second job and stuff.
Alternatively, things might start to become cheaper, like they do in other countries where the currency is not valued as highly.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
They may just take pity on us, and we won't.
60
I think they'll very much view it as like, no, you did this to yourselves. The new PlayStation is £1,000. Go fuck yourselves.
I'm like, so be it. Oh yeah, nothing's ever going to be cheaper ever, is it, James?
No,
that's not
in
going
the
to happen.
UK. No, it's impossible.
Your PS5, $199.
Yeah.
Imagine. Okay, I mean, we'll end with. Oh no, I mean, okay. Athena, any of you watch Evangelion? Should I watch it?
It's good. I've seen it.
Do you like it, James? Because I've not seen it for a long time. I was like 18, 19 when I watched it, and I wasn't a huge fan.
As was I. So I can't. Okay. I do remember liking it, but I don't remember a huge amount about it now because it was.
I appreciate it as an inversion of everything that like mecha fiction was at the time, in that it was just like, hey, what if getting in the robot was horrible?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I get that.
I remember it being impressively messed up by the end.
That was it. And I don't know, that stuff, I just kind of switch off. It's like, all right, everyone's miserable and screaming, and I don't know. I'm not into it. Yeah, I thought you might. But so it's on Netflix now, and everyone loves it, and everyone's going on about it. So I'm gonna have to try it again, aren't I?
Is Evangelion just a one series? What I've been hearing a few names.
Well, this is the thing, right?
There's a load of things with this,
and then the ending is like a joke. It's not the actual ending, and then there's some films, and then I don't know.
There's like changing the endings and things like that. There's all sorts of stuff with this. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I might give it a go.
I'll tell you what, like I smell like another podcast here, Matt. We could.
Oh no!
Well, that's what Ben Slime's been saying, because I've been like, I think I might have said in my stream and also last podcast, I'm going to watch that. Oh my god, My Hero Academia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like Ben's like, oh, we'll do weeb calls, and I'll be up for that. I mean, you basically talked me through watching Death Note, and I quite enjoyed that.
Yeah, fair dues. One thing I will say, the designs of the robots are absolutely stunning. Like, there's really nothing else like them. So yeah, fair play for that, if nothing else.
So, yeah. Well, but will Dave give us the calls license?
Oh, I don't know.
You can't do that, because it's. What if it's better than Star Calls?
Yeah.
I mean, it might be. Right, that's it for tweets. It's at Computer Game Pod if you want to tweet us. Let's go on to the end bit. Streaming. Now, we're currently podcasting on Tuesday night. So, unlike most weeks, if you're listening to this on Wednesday, Sean is streaming tonight. That's the case, isn't it, Sean?
Correct. I don't know what I'm streaming yet, though. I haven't decided, but I've
still up in the air. Yeah. But you got a lucky Wednesday night stream. So if you listen to us on the day this podcast comes out, Sean is streaming tonight from 9 p.m. at twitch.tv/Computer Game Show. Then on Friday night, Sean is back for the second Bell's Kitchen from 8 o'clock. Go over to our Twitch channel, 8 p.m. Sean will be cooking up a storm. And then straight after that, James is on for I keep saying it, for Quantum Break. Can you talk about what you're playing, James? Are you still enjoying that game?
Yeah, loving it. It's
okay. Mm-hmm. So that's that. If you want to watch that Friday at 9,
very mediocre. The stream and the mediocre.
Game. Yeah. I mean, I did enjoy when I tuned in on last Friday and you were just watching that program for 20 minutes.
It was the future of gaming, Matt. TV. That was what it was going to be.
Yeah, the shared TV viewing experience. It was brilliant. And so yeah, Friday from 8 is Bell's Kitchen. Friday from 9 is James, and then I'll be on Sunday night from 8:30. To kick Bloodborne in the arse. And I'm definitely going to kill that boss this week. So that's all on our Twitch channel. You can subscribe to us if you want to pay actual money. But if you've got an Amazon Prime account, you can link that to your Twitch account and give us your one free monthly subscription. We really, really appreciate it. And the money goes to good cables and good wires and all the good stuff. So yeah, think about giving us your free monthly sub. More information about the pod is all on thecomputergameshow.com. We're on Patreon, patreon.com/TCGS. We do like a monthly bonus show that's exclusive to Patreon users. You can come in and watch our second TCGS Talks over, where we talk over the Wii U announcement. That was quite some show.
It certainly was.
Sorry, Sean.
I was saying, it was a really interesting show to do. It was.
It really was. Yeah. And also Star Calls, we mentioned it, and hopefully everyone listening to this has also listened to Star Calls, but Star Calls is out. There's been a fair few episodes. Dave watching Star Wars for the first time. He's done the original trilogy, and we did a roundtable last week, so now episode 5 it is. Me and Sean join Dave and James, and now Dave goes on to the prequels, I think next week. So yeah, search for Star Calls. It's in every podcast player. It's on our YouTube channel, and do that. That's me. Done.
Mint. And as usual, we really appreciate everyone's support. We were discussing finances the other day. Matt and I basically both admitted we'd be fucked this month if it wasn't for the Patreon money.
Yes, thank you.
So yeah,
thanks for keeping it afloat.
Much. Cool. Thanks for listening. Thanks for checking out the streams and all the rest of it. But most importantly, thanks for letting us be natural. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
quite upbeat there, James.
Yeah, well, it's the end, isn't it?